That's the one thing about our audience. They always want a new guy to break through the glass ceiling.
All you have to do is just be real.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, talking is done, you're out of your class, no sleep till Brooklyn, The Rock whips your ass.
Woo! I wish you and King would quit talking.
Welcome to Around the Ring, episode 65. I am Dave Brown, one half of the hosts, and I'm joined by Floyd Johnson. How you doing, sir?
I am doing well. This Sunday morning, got up bright and early, and I'm ready to talk some wrestling.
Yeah, it is. It's Sunday, November. I'm getting ahead of myself. September 25th. Oh my God, is September almost over? Really?
Yes, it's almost over.
Oh, holy crap! Well, we've got a pay-per-view coming up tonight, which we're going to talk about, and then with WWE Clash of Champions. Next Friday, Ring of Honor has a pay-per-view, All-Star Extravaganza. We're going to talk a little bit about that and go through the week that was pro wrestling. So, and we've got our top 5 favorite cutters. People use cutter as the finisher, so we'll get to that toward the end. And let's just jump right into Monday Night Raw. They were in Memphis, Tennessee. And the show opened up with Roman Reigns getting showered in booze. Just showered in booze.
Yeah. The writing on the wall for him to be heel has been there so long. His persona is heel. His attitude, as in he doesn't talk a lot and just punches people in the face, it's kind of heel because if he had interesting things to say as a face, they would let him talk, but he doesn't, so they don't.
Yeah, exactly. And from all accounts, he's like backstage. He's a pretty decent dude, and everything. He's like one of those. You know what he is? He's like that really pretty, arrogant jock from high school who's actually a nice guy. You know, he's that football player who is so high in the food chain, who all the girls want, who's just buff and everything. But actually, when you have a conversation with him, you're like, damn, this guy's actually pretty cool.
But the thing was, he was a defensive lineman in college. He used to be fat, and he used to not be able to get girls. He says that all the time. So playing up attractive and can getting any woman that he wants is kind of against him because for most of his life he couldn't.
I did not know that. Wow.
If you look at the pictures of him from Georgia Tech, he was a chunky butt. He was like 295 pounds.
Wow. Okay. So, well, that makes me actually like him more now that he got all buff and everything.
His wife's hot though, so he's been dating her since he was a chunky butt. So maybe.
Well, cool. Yeah. I actually have not seen pictures of
the character that a lot of people want him to portray. Yeah, I was just saying the character a lot of people want him to portray. From what I understand, he's not comfortable necessarily portraying it, but it's like you can't be any more uncomfortable than you are as a face because you come off as really awkward when the mic's in your hand.
He really does, and maybe so if the whole he was actually, you know, he's got some fat damage going on, if that is happening, then maybe he needs to just completely reinvent his character and do something else. I mean, I don't know what. That flak jacket thing's got to go. That thing's, even though it's always hilarious when Kevin Owens goes to do a chop on it and he hurts his hand. And there was a moment, I think it's later in the show, where Owens did that to him, or maybe it was last week, and Reigns just looked down at him, just looked down at the flak jacket, looked up at him, and was like, "Seriously, do you not see what I'm wearing?" I just thought that was a nice little moment. I love those, those little interactions. So Roman gets on the mic, starts talking. Stephanie McMahon comes out because she has to emasculate anybody on the show, whether they have a penis or not. Mick Foley came out, and then Mick set a match for Rollins versus Rusev for tonight. Roman still was angry about he wants Rusev, which at some point this is a feud everyone's kind of known since both of those two came up from NXT. That's a feud that's going to happen for both of their sakes. They're just going to have a feud. But it seems kind of forced in a way. I don't know. This isn't gelling, I don't think.
They wanted to put Roman with someone that is clearly heel. So, he's going against, like, America. So, obviously, you have to go for Roman. And I think that was the whole thing, is, like, we have to put against someone overtly heel so people have to cheer for Roman. But the thing is, I don't think they understand how much people, as in the WWE fan base, I'm not one of them, really, and that hates Roman Reigns. They're going to boo him no matter what. You could put him in there. You can put him in there against Adolf, and I'm thinking Adolf will get some cheers. But it's just the way it is. The fan base has decided they don't like them. When you're a casual person and you're at the show and you see these hardcore fans booing them, I've seen it happen at live shows. They just start booing them too because they don't want to look like they're out of the know.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. They've got to do something with him, and I know Vince is in love with this guy and wants to turn him into the next Rock, which is not fair to him. Is he going to be a big-time superstar for this company in the long run, for the next good, 8 to 10 years? Absolutely. Is he going to be the next Dwayne Johnson? Not a chance in hell. There's, a guy like that's once in a lifetime. Is he the next Hulk Hogan? No. He's not any of that. Just let the guy be him. He's not even the next John Cena, and that's what they're really trying to make him, and it's killing his career. Just let him come up with a character that he's comfortable with, and turning him heel. It's doing great for the Usos. Maybe.
But the Usos have that natural kind of cockiness and look on the face, which he has. He does. And I hate if he had some type of mouthpiece, not necessarily a manager, maybe like if he wanted to be Triple H's guy, I thought that would have always worked, that he finally gave in and became Triple H's guy. He was finally tired of doing the stuff the hard way, and just became the corporate guy. But other than that, of course, WWE have done things with people I didn't see coming, but I don't see a lot of places to go with him because they don't want him to lose a lot, because there'll be a problem building him back up. But I think that's exactly what he needs. He needs to go on quite a bit of losing streak and maybe even play that into his character, that he's losing, a lot, and pretty much everything's been handed to him on a platter and he's not taking advantage of it. I could see that. Kind of what they're doing with Seth.
Yeah, they need to do something, and because it's just, I think people get the reaction now whenever he wins a match, it's just like LOL Cena wins. Yeah. It's LOL Roman wins. So here's to hoping that Rusev wins on later tonight.
I did have one more point from that segment. I'll make it fairly quick. The storyline is that Mick was punishing Seth. They then put him in a match with Rusev. How is that a punishment? I didn't really get that storyline wise. I know they're trying to go Seth full face mode, but I didn't really. Rusev hasn't really been destroying people lately. They didn't make it any type of advantage. It's just like it was the weakest punishment ever. And they build up all week that he's going to punish Seth, and then they just put Seth and Rusev in a match.
Yeah, when I was watching that, what I just figured is the thought is, well, Rusev's going to beat the crap out of him. And that's the other thing I took away from the segment is Mick was trying so hard to put Roman over.
He was.
And because we'll get to it later, but Seth Rollins is much better babyface. I think he will be a much better babyface in the long run. So this moved on to Stephanie and Mick backstage, and then we got approached by Rusev, who was not happy, which then turned into the Seth Rollins-Rusev match. One thing I noticed, I just noticed random things sometimes during these shows. They didn't have the flashy light things on the ring posts this week on Raw.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, those ring posts look a lot smaller. Oh, they're missing that thing. They were on SmackDown, but I don't know if that's a bad sign when you're watching the show and the things you pick up on are the little things like, oh, they changed this with the ring. Does that mean the show's that boring?
No, I mean, if you've been watching wrestling for a lot of years, you pick up on more of the details and everything. I generally pick up on how people are selling like certain moves, and most people will be like, I didn't notice that, because I'm not staring at the match at whole. I'm staring at the details in the match and how the people are performing. So I understand.
Yeah.
I don't really pay attention to the stage as much as someone else might.
Yeah, that was something that just stood out. I thought this was a good match. The double countout was probably the right way to go. It seems like, a screw job finish, but you want to keep both of these guys looking strong. I loved afterwards when Rollins did that jump off the announce table onto Rusev. I thought that was great. That was a cool
It
spot.
goes back to old Seth, the Shield Seth, who would just basically take the high spot in every match.
Yep. Oh, that one where the one match against Evolution where he jumped off of the. Actually, I think he did a couple of times where he jumped off of
It was like the stage. It was like. Yeah.
Well, there was a part when they were fought into the crowd, and
okay.
And
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was like a level above them. He was like almost on the next floor, for lack of a better term, and did a dive. That was craziness, and that's the Seth Rollins I think people really like, because the annoying Seth Rollins is just annoying and has got to go.
One of my favorite heel characters ever. I know I just loved that his gimmick was that he just talked for 20 minutes about how great he was. It wasn't very good television for, of course, casual fans, but for me it was just awesome, because they pretty much just gave him a mic every week and he ran everyone down and told everybody how awesome he was. There was nothing more heel than that.
True. My problem with it is it got old after a while, and the talking segments can get really, really boring. And that's one of the nice things with SmackDown being a shorter show, is they have so much less of that because they don't have a third hour to fill up. But yeah, no, he was good at that. His laugh is really annoying though.
Yeah. They didn't. I don't think right now, as I'm going through Raw and everything, I don't think WWE is focusing on the smaller attention span of people. They seem to be social media aware, but we live in the world of 5-second videos, and the segments are too long, and people lose interest and turn the channel. I believe
they do. It's like you can have long matches. If they're good matches, people will stay because it's action. If you have long talk, then people are going to turn off unless it's The Rock, someone who's that engaging. It's hard to do that. You can't just get out there and babble for 20 minutes and not expect people to get bored, unless you are someone who is so charismatic and so engaging that you can't look away. And even then.
And with The Rock, he would throw in a catchphrase every minute and a half, and that kept the crowd engaged also.
Yeah. The other thing about that I love, just real quick on another Rock aside, one of the last times he was there, when there were those guys in cosplay on in the front row, and he literally stopped what he was going to do. He's like, I'm going off script. And Vince and Kevin Dunn were in the back screaming, no, no, no. And he went over there and talked to those guys in the Macho Man and Hogan costumes, and that was great.
He acknowledged Hogan in a time where the WWE was not acknowledging Hogan.
Yes. A cardinal sin. But, he is who he is, so he can get away with anything.
Yep.
So the next bit was Mick Foley backstage with Dana Brooke and Charlotte, watching the triple threat match from last week with the double pin, and Dana trying her best to get Charlotte something out of this, and suggesting that Sasha and Bayley have a match and the winner gets Charlotte. and Mick just going, "Hey, we'll have a triple threat match," out of the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Which made no sense.
Yeah, I didn't even see why Charlotte, even though she's playing the bully friend, I was like, as far as storyline-wise, it didn't make sense that she pushed her because she clearly said this statement, and Mick Foley clearly turned it into something else.
Exactly.
It was like, I know what they were trying to do, and it wasn't well done to me.
So if the rumors are true, if Emma is coming, the last I heard, Emma was probably coming to Raw. Is that still...
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
Emma and Dana are pretty much a package deal.
Okay,
Emma
good.
went down to NXT, and basically Dana got her over.
That is true.
Yeah.
So what needs to happen is, in my opinion, this needs to break off into a Sasha Bailey feud and then an Emma Charlotte feud over Dana Brooke, basically.
Yeah.
Emma needs to come out to save Dana Brooke, but they need to be, it almost needs to be a heel-on-heel feud.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all. We then had a vignette for the Cruiserweights with Cedric Alexander and Brian Kendrick. And then there was a great Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho backstage segment. I can't get enough of these guys. Jericho especially.
Yes, because Jericho is kind of playing the over-eager best friend, and then Owens is playing like, okay, well, as long as you're helping me, I'm going to say everything you say is awesome. But you can clearly see if Jericho stops, pumping up Owens is going to pop up powerbomb.
Oh, yeah.
You can clearly see that. It's a one-way relationship right now.
Yes. And then we had Braun Strowman against Sin Cara. My takeaway from this is no one cared. That crowd was dead. And honestly, I skipped most of this. I did see the ending bit where Strowman won with a British Bulldog power slam. It was nice seeing that come back because I love me some Davey Boy Smith.
Only thing I have from this is Corey Graves is great on the mic. I just really enjoyed that he did everything he could with this crap match to try to build him up, and it was just like, I mean, you don't have a lot to work with, but I feel like he starred in this actual segment.
See, damn it! Now I'm gonna have to go back and watch it because I love Corey Graves. He was great this week on NXT. I just love him. When he first started out doing commentary, I was like, oh, okay, I guess he's all right. And as he's gotten more experience, he gets better every single week, especially once he really gets chemistry with somebody. His chemistry with Byron Saxton is fantastic. Not so much Michael Cole, because Michael Cole just sucks. His chemistry with Tom Phillips on NXT is fantastic. So yeah, I love me some Corey Graves. Let's get rid of Michael Cole and let's just have Corey Graves and Byron Saxton call Raw.
I don't feel like we'll ever get rid of Michael Cole because he does the job exactly the way Vince wants it done.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back to the 80s and watch how Vince did announcing, it was very bland, very boring, very not look at me. And that was very much what Michael Cole did. He wants, I think, just outside looking in, watching how he's done things, he does not want the announcer to be the face of the company or anything like that. He just wants them to announce and the wrestlers be the stars.
Yeah. And let me retract something. To be completely fair, Michael Cole is not terrible at his job. You watch Beast in the East, and he and Byron Saxton did that, just the two of them, and they were great. The commentary on the entire show was fantastic. It's like if you don't have either Vince McMahon or Kevin Dunn screaming in this guy's ear the whole time, he can do a really good job. And they need to just let him do his job. Let these guys, all of them, all six of them, just let them do their jobs, because you can tell, especially poor Morrow, you can tell there are times he's in mid-sentence and he stops. That's because someone's yelling at him.
Yeah, and he ignores a lot of it because he calls moves, certain things he says dropped on the head, which, the WWE doesn't like people to say, and he does a lot. He just ignores a lot, but he's pretty over with the crowd right now, so I think he can get away with a lot that he couldn't get away with before.
Agreed. Let's see. We then had the Sasha Banks and Bayley versus Charlotte and Dana Brooke match. Okay, so another thing I've noticed since Bayley's come to the main roster, her inflatable tube men, they come up at slightly the wrong moment with her song. There's a moment in the song where they would come up just in tune with the song at a certain point in NXT, and on Raw they come up like a second or two too soon. Drives me crazy.
That's going to be a Dave opinion because I don't know.
I know that's one of my obsessive little things that I know.
Let's say yes. If you want to talk about that, go for it. But I will have nothing there.
This was overall, I thought, a pretty decent match. Charlotte got the pin on Bayley with a big boot after a distraction. Sasha looked super pissed at Bayley. I think where this is going is Sasha is going to turn heel. Which she needs to do. I mean, she's great as a babyface.
The boss gimmick's a heel gimmick.
Exactly. And she's one of those people that needs to be, majority of the time, as a heel, but every so often turns around, becomes that babyface because everyone loves her because she's so good, but then goes back to being a heel.
Well, here's a nitpicky thought for me on this match. Cole says Dana learned her cockiness from Charlotte. I was like, I guess he's never watched the episode of NXT. Because her character came out cocky, was always cocky. That's pretty much her gimmick. So that was
it really pisses me off when there's stuff from NXT that they just so blatantly ignore.
Yeah.
And you're right, Dana was cocky from day one. That's just part of her personality. She
was called the Total Diva. That was her name.
Yes, exactly. And they need to get her back to that. So. Actually, they need to just make her Emma's mouthpiece because she is so good on the mic.
Well, she'll keep getting better in the ring. I mean, I've seen it where wrestlers have I say Nikki Bella is it. She found her about 8 or 9 moves, and she does those every match, and she does them really, really well. And that's really all most people are looking for from a women's wrestler. When you get down to like Charlotte and Sasha, who can really step up their match, that's great. But if you can just wrestle a safe match and get your moves in and sell the other moves, I'm happy.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, and I think you're right. She is someone who is athletically gifted enough that given time, she will get a good 8-9 moves down and be able to do those well. She just was the biggest problem. She was called up way too soon. We then had Seth Rollins and Stephanie backstage. I don't have really much to say about this. It was weird.
She emasculated Seth, said KO is the right pick, which I thought was awesome. Seth right now, he's not full face because he's still trying to get his spot with them back.
Right.
So I'm waiting on the full face turn Seth, where he kind of starts playing to the crowd or whatever.
Yeah, me too. And I think doing it a slow burn, face turn is the way to go.
I mean, this is Triple H's story style. Is the slow burn. It's always what I prefer. But again, we live in a world where people are less likely to pay attention over the long term. So they have to do it in a big way when they do it.
Good point. We then have Bo Dallas against Gary Graham. More poetry from Bo.
You remembered his name. I'm impressed.
I wrote it down. So yeah, some "Let's Go Jobbers" chants. That was always entertaining, and some small delete chants.
Yes,
I love seeing the delete chants showing up.
I heard it with Roman when Roman was talking. They did the delete chant.
I don't remember who even won this match though. I didn't write that.
Bo Dallas. Bo Dallas.
So yeah,
it was as forgettable as. And I have a note because I actually been keeping notes doing the show. Still no Cruiserweights. I'm disappointed because I still think we agreed that Cruiserweights should be at the beginning of the show, and I hated that they waited as long as they did.
Oh, yeah,
but
they gave them the stuff. Yeah, we'll get there because there was another Cruiserweight vignette, and then we had Cesaro versus Sheamus. Cesaro got the win on this match. It was a good match. I mean, these two actually have good chemistry together, and I'm not the biggest fan of Sheamus. I don't think he sucks completely like some people do, but I don't think he's all that WWE thinks he is. But he and Cesaro have good matches. I remember they had a hell of a good match when Sheamus was still a face and was the U.S. champion.
Yeah.
And Cesaro was a heel, where they just beat the utter piss out of each other.
And on this match, I just said the fact I hate how they did the 7 with Sheamus going up 3-0. Because the point is, you knew they were going to go 7. So when Sheamus went up 3-0, you knew Cesaro was going to win the next 3. So it kept you from being engrossed in the match.
Yes, exactly.
Because all the times they've done this best of 7 series, it's always went 7. So it kept you from being engrossed. It just killed it. Once Cesaro went up 3, once Sheamus went up 3, you knew Cesaro was winning the next 3. Yeah. So it was just, I looked at the match. He did a razor's edge into a backbreaker, which was kind of stealing. I was like, he kind of stole Ced's thing right there, but I'll deal with it. I'll go past that. But the match was actually pretty decent. But it's just the fact that you absolutely knew who was going to win with no surprise at the end kind of ruined it for me.
Agreed. That's something that's a big flaw that WWE has in a lot of their storytelling, is they're so predictable so often. The best thing I think would have been to do a straight, Cesaro just win 4 straight in a row, done, or maybe Sheamus win the first one and Cesaro win the next 4.
Yeah, something that embarrasses one of them to where they have to get better. But it going 7, the first 3 matches were entertaining because I did not know Sheamus was going to go up 3-0. But once Sheamus hit 3, it was just, I didn't care because I knew it was going 7.
Exactly. Yep. We then had Mick Foley backstage talking on the phone to probably no one, saying that the 7th match should be a Clash of Champions, which I think we all figured would happen. He gets approached by Jericho, who Jericho, the genius that he is, has brought back the list. I have flashbacks of him doing his 1,004 moves from Monday Nitro.
Yes.
This was great.
That was vintage Jericho.
That was, and that was one of those things, I just watched it and smiled and enjoyed it. I couldn't take notes just because I was enjoying it too much. Which then we got Jericho in the ring doing a promo, and oh my God, this was so good. Him doing the list, and then Enzo and Cass come out, and then the crowd actually kind of woke up. I think the Strowman match killed this crowd because they were fairly dead after Strowman until Cass and Enzo came out.
Which they're a big wake up, and the fact that they did all of their kind of wake up stuff. Enzo and Cass is a wake up group. The New Day is a wake up group, and they brought them just all out. It was crazy.
Yeah, and I loved Big E's "We have nothing better to do" line. I thought that was fantastic. And then Gallows and Anderson came out, and it turned into and Sami Zayn came out at some point. And this ended up turning into Sammy, Cass, Enzo, and Kofi and Big E against Jericho, Gallows, Anderson, and the Shining Stars.
This very much came off old Divas division where they were just trying to get everybody on the show.
Yep. Yeah.
And I hate 10-man matches, especially when they seemingly have no point.
Yeah, and that was the thing. This match there was no other than, hey, let's just get everyone in here. I'm sorry, you have a 3-hour show. You don't have time to give every single one of these fools matches?
No, it was horrible.
Yeah. The only things that really stood out to me in this match is Carl Anderson has one of the best spine busters ever. Just next to Arn Anderson, I think his is probably the best.
And I think I need Enzo to get the memo that the dab is dead because he's overly doing it, and then it's annoying me.
Yes. Yeah, and T.J. Perkins will need to also get that memo.
See, and the thing about T.J. Perkins is, if he does the little leg thing and then does it that one time, I'm okay with it. Enzo did it like 6 times.
Yeah.
I was not okay with that.
Yeah. God, the Usos were doing the dab like a year ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that needs to go away. Yeah. But the babyfaces got the win. I don't even remember how. That sounds...
Enzo hit the boom shakalaka or whatever.
Oh, and that is a terrible name for that move.
Okay. I can't even...
What did they used to call that move? It was
when the Midnight Express did it. It was called the rocket launcher.
That's right, and they called it the rocket launcher for the longest time.
Yes, and the thing about it is, on the rocket launcher, the guy from the Midnight Express actually launched his person off the top. He actually grabbed him and launched him. The way they do it, Big Cass sticks his hands up there, and then Enzo just jumps, and it annoys me because he doesn't actually launch him.
No, he does shove him down, giving him extra force on the way down, though.
Most of the time, he doesn't actually touch him.
Really? I haven't
He
noticed.
just does the arm motion.
Oh, that's lame.
It's one of those Floyd details that I'll pick up on a match. Most of the time, he doesn't touch him. I don't know if I'll get to see them again, but I can't wait to see them again because I plan on making that point. They will probably ignore it, but it'll get it off my chest and I'll be done with it.
Yeah, well, there was another Cruiserweight vignette, and then there was a really good Eddie Guerrero vignette. Then we have what I would say, as bad as that 10-man match was, the most disappointing part of the show. The debut of the Cruiserweights. Could they have screwed this up anymore?
No. I think this is how the show should have started. It started with Mick Foley in the ring, talking about how much they want to do the Cruiserweight division and bringing everybody out if they were absolutely set on doing it this way. This should have been at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, and Mick Foley was screwing up his lines. It was awful. It's like, please just give this man bullet points. He's been doing this longer than most people. He knows how to talk on the mic. He's done it forever. Tell him, these are the highlights. These are the things we need you to touch on. Just go out there and do it. He doesn't need to be fully scripted. That's insulting to him, and it's painful for us to listen to. But
during the match, I felt like Michael Cole he really does not get excited like you're supposed to be in the Cruiserweight matches. And,
yeah.
I mean, the match was well done. It was pretty much what we saw in the Cruiserweight Classic on a lower level. It was definitely toned down. But he just can't call these matches. I'm gonna try to let it go and just enjoy the matches, but it feels like when you just had Mauro Ranallo taking every match to another level because of how he called the match, and then you have Michael Cole trying to sound excited. He did get like 3 or 4 move names right, and I was impressed.
How sad is that? Like, well, he got a couple move names right.
Yeah,
yeah.
I tip my hat to that.
The match itself was Rich Swann against Gran Metalik, against Cedric Alexander, against Brian Kendrick in a fatal 4-way, which they had this whole tournament that was about one-on-one matches, and then we have a fatal 4-way to make a number 1 contender. It's not like there aren't a few weeks between now and No Mercy, so why you couldn't have had I know they just had a tournament. Why you couldn't have a mini tournament, I don't know. But this was, the match itself, I think it started slow, and then it built up. To be fair to Michael Cole, this is in the death slot. This poor fool has been there for who knows how many hours talking these matches through. He's probably at the point he's looking at his watch going, can I get the fuck out of here? I'm tired. I got to go home. And I gotta talk up Roman Reigns here in like 10 minutes. So can we go? So it was a terrible spot. This is where you put your boring match. You don't put it right before the main event. And it was the fact that Mick Foley had to take out cards with their names on it irked me to no end. It's like, I'm not going to take the time to learn who these people are, so you shouldn't care either.
The match, but the thing about the match is that it is tonight at Clash of Champions, right?
Oh shit, that's right. My
so
bad.
it was, they were building it up for tonight.
You're right.
And they didn't just want, I imagine they just didn't want to do TJP versus Gran Metalik again. So the only thing really made sense was the Fatal 4-Way match. That's how I got to the conclusion of the Fatal.
Yeah, you're right. Considering the position they were in, That is correct. Yeah.
And to a more casual fan that might just be coming back, Brian Kendrick is a better name than Grand Metalik.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so you got TJP and Brian Kendrick tonight. And, you know, Brian's going to play the heel character. TJ's going to play the face character. And it'll make for a better story tonight. It's just that they had to rush the story.
Yeah, agreed. And the other thing is Kendrick, you can beat Kendrick, and it won't.
Yeah.
You don't want to put Cedric Alexander out there and have him lose on his first pay-per-view match.
Even though he did take the fall in the Fatal 4-Way, and that annoyed me.
Yeah, but I mean,
someone has to lose, and
exactly.
I like everybody. So,
and with Cedric being the kind of sympathetic babyface type character, he can afford losses to some extent. Just kind of the same way Daniel Bryan could afford losses. So, or Sami Zayn, he doesn't necessarily completely lose out by losing. You know, I like you. I did enjoy the match, especially at the end. These are 4 excellent wrestlers, so you know they're in the ring. You know you're going to get good stuff out of them. Let's hope next week they're in the first hour, and let's also hope that they get more than just one segment a week, because this will be ridiculous if all they get is one segment a week. Let's give them 2 matches. You've got 3 hours to fill. The other thing that was kind of head-scratching in this is T.J. Perkins never came out. He didn't come out. He didn't do a stare-down. He didn't come out and shake, Brian Kendrick's hand. He wasn't on commentary. I mean, they never showed the champion.
I thought about this, too. You debut the champion and a person on the WWE Network at your, I'm putting air quotes, pay-per-view, because, you don't pay-per-view anymore. But you would try to get as many people that have been watching the CWC to say, hey, you got to see this guy TJP. They didn't bring him out tonight. They didn't give him to you for free, in essence. You got to see him at the show. Because I thought about that so hard, and I was just like, that's the only reason that I can see is that they were trying to just build him up, and I'm hoping he has a hell of an entrance tonight.
Yeah. Did they even do that? Did they do anything on the network or on their YouTube page saying, here's this dude you really need to check out?
No. They're really worried about word of mouth.
Idiots. I mean, this is... you've got to remember, it's... okay, let's just go on to the main event.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens in a steel cage match. I'm not even going to lie. I didn't get to watch this until a few days ago, and I'm once it's toward the end of the week, if I'm watching stuff, especially if I'm trying to catch up on Raw and SmackDown, if it is days after the event happens, I have this really bad habit of just kind of flipping through it, and which is sad because I love Kevin Owens. The best part, though, of this was after Reigns won, which, of course, I was like, why? But it's a steel cage match. He didn't pin him. He jumped off the cage. And did he, because they didn't show when he fell, did he, jump from really high up?
Yes, he was only about a third of a way down.
That should have been on film.
Yeah.
Because that is, that's ballsy. I could give the guy props for that. That'll mess up your knees. Because it was like, whoa, Kevin's about to hit the weight. What? Did he just jump off the top to the floor?
Yeah.
But the best part was when Rusev came out.
Cage match. First of all, cage match.
Yeah.
I hate cage matches now. Cage matches used to be this violent, bloody, supposed to be the end of a feud because these dudes really hate each other type thing. And now it's not even a prop. They don't even sell it. When you throw them against the cage, they don't even sell it like it's this big event. They sell it kind of like getting thrown against a guardrail. You know what I'm saying? The cage is supposed to be UFC style. We have locked these 2 animals in there because nothing else can contain them when they fight. It just came off boring. If you can't bleed, there's no point of a cage. I hate it. This is going more to the idea of hating the cage match. The actual match was pretty good. Roman Reigns kicked out of the pop-up powerbomb. I was not very Not a big fan of that. But yeah, it was a decent match. It was just like the cage is a prop, and it's a horrible prop now. I mean, if you want to do the cage, you should be like, well, we're only going to do this on a special event on the network, and your kids shouldn't watch this or something like that, to try to really build up what the cage was and used to be. Because back in the WCW days, if there was a cage, someone was bleeding. Generally, both of them were bleeding.
Oh, yeah, and it wasn't just a little bit of blood.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, let's Magnum TA Tully Blanchard, anyone?
Yeah.
Gushers.
Ric Flair with the crimson mask.
Yep.
It was a thing, and it's just the cage as a prop now does nothing for anyone.
Yeah.
If you say there's going to be a steel cage match at Raw tonight and I'm in town, it doesn't make me go. It's just because I know it's just a prop.
And my thing that confused me, I was like, why? These two aren't really in the, I mean, they're sort of, kind of, halfway feuding somewhat.
It was so Kevin Owens couldn't run, quotation mark.
Oh jeez, that's lame.
The whole idea was lame. It was a wasted cage match, and it even devalued the cage match even more to me.
I agree. The only thing that I really thoroughly enjoyed in this is when Rusev came out and Owens was screaming Machka something.
Yes, Machka, yeah.
That cracked me up. And then I think the entire reason for the cage was just so Seth Rollins could jump off of it.
Which
there
was
big
the
spots.
Seth spot.
Which it's sometimes you're like, why are you putting your body in that much danger? Week before pay-per-view. Okay. I mean, it was cool looking.
Yeah.
But that was Raw, so let's go through the...
I gave Raw C this week, which it's going to probably consistently get C's, but...
Yeah, it's going to be, it's going to be average.
And no Jinder Mahal actually upset me.
Really?
Yeah, because I like Jinder Mahal, and I like what they're trying to do with him right now, but they did some segments on YouTube with Jinder Mahal where he was talking to people in the backstage, so I thought that was pretty... They're at least trying to advance his character, even if it's not on the show.
And the saddest thing is sometimes some of their best stuff they do is on YouTube that's not on Raw. I remember when the New Day was first, before they were even the New Day, and they were just Kofi and Big E and Xavier were hanging out, they had these comedy bits backstage that were phenomenal. And they're
less produced. It's more of them and a camera, and then like someone watches it later and says, "Oh, it looks good," and they throw it online.
Yeah. All right, so Clash of Champions. It is tonight. We got a pre-show match: Alicia Fox versus Nia Jax.
Do we even need to predict a person on that? Nia Jax is not losing.
Yeah, no, not at all.
I have zero interest in that match, and I won't probably be turning on the show until the actual show.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Cruiserweight Championship match. We have Brian Kendrick challenging T.J. Perkins.
It's a T.J. Perkins showcase. I mean, Brian Kendricks will put up a good fight, but it's going to be a T.J. Perkins showcase.
I agree. Best of 7, Cesaro versus Sheamus.
Cesaro goes over.
If he doesn't, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
Then we have the U.S. Championship, Rusev with his lovely bride Lana against Roman Reigns. Honestly, I put just 4 question marks. I don't know.
Roman Reigns. They try to put him in a secondary belt and hopefully try to build him up that way. But I would love Rusev to go over. I think Rusev is the choice. Like I said, Rusev should only lose very few times a year. And so I think Rusev should go over. I think Roman Reigns will go over.
Yeah, my thought is, see, with me, I don't think Roman Reigns needs to be built up. I think he needs to be taken down pegs.
Yeah.
And I think him losing clean to Rusev is the way to go. I would not be surprised if there's some FUBAR no finish that keeps both of them looking strong. But I could also see Reigns winning and being the U.S. champion, and maybe them trying to
feel like this is one of the matches where if we kind of went old school and we still had time limits, they could just wrestle to a time limit draw. They could just beat the crap out of each other until a time limit draw. Since they've gotten away from that completely, yeah, it'll probably be. Now that you bring it up, I kind of agree that it'll probably be some bull crap ending.
Yeah. So what will probably happen is either screw job finish with no winner, or Roman Reigns wins. What I want to happen is Rusev to win, and I want it to be decisive, and Reigns needs to be humbled. Then we've got Sami Zayn versus Chris Jericho.
I care not at all about this match. I truly feel it's just to have Sami Zayn to go over so they can do the him and KO feud. I'm annoyed that they're going to give the feud. I feel like they're going to give the feud, start the feud now. So I honestly, Jericho's funny and he's great on the mic, but it just seems like the whole Sami Zayn being the underdog kind of thing, he's going to win.
So here's my take on it. I look at this one of two ways. One, if this is a one-and-done match, Sami Zayn's winning.
Mm-hmm.
If this is going to be a 3-month feud, which I'm actually hoping it's going to be, Jericho wins. I think it is way too soon to build up Sami and Owens for the title. That needs to be at either the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, because we just saw them have a phenomenal match a couple of months ago. You've got to give that time. And there's no hurry with those two guys. You know you can put them together anytime and it's going to be great. So, and plus it needs, let's let some other people have some title shots can we have someone other than Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Sami Zayn, because Sami Zayn fights Kevin Owens all the time. Can we have someone other than these handful of people fighting for the title? I mean, hell, Cesaro's supposed to get a championship opportunity. Maybe he goes after Kevin Owens. I still like. I think it wasn't you last week that said he should go over to SmackDown and challenge The Miz. Someone else needs to run for the title.
I like listening to you because you gave me an idea. Maybe they do a thing where Sammy wins tonight and he challenges KO, and KO's like, I'm tired of fighting you. The only way I will fight you is to get rid of you. And maybe the title versus Sami Zayn leaving Raw.
Ooh.
And that'd be a great way to write Sami Zayn off Raw and put him on SmackDown, which I think he would put on. I think he would be a bigger part of SmackDown.
I agree. I think both Sami and Cesaro should be over on SmackDown, because since that show since they have less stars over there, they need a couple more stars, and the way that show is written, it was much better tailored for guys like Sami and Cesaro. So yeah, I like that idea.
And The Miz is running out of people to beat.
He is.
So they need someone else for him to beat.
So I'm going with Jericho because I think this is probably going to be a 3-month thing.
Okay.
We then have Charlotte versus Sasha Banks versus Bayley for the women's championship. I think Charlotte's keeping the belt.
I think Bayley costs Sasha some way, and then Charlotte pins Bayley.
Okay. Yeah. I definitely. Bayley. It's too early for Bayley to be the champion.
But I'm just saying they're going to build the Sasha Bayley feud.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Charlotte needs. We can't always have the title picture, as great as these three women are. The title picture, just like with the Universal title, the women's title picture cannot always be these three women. Because that's going to, as great as their matches are, after a while, we're going to want to see something else.
And maybe after the match, Dana maybe almost cost Charlotte the match, and we see the return of Emma tonight. I would like to see that, just because it will add something to pay-per-view. Again, I hope they take the SmackDown route and they make a shorter pay-per-view.
I agree. We've got 2 more matches. The New Day, which will be Big E and Kofi, I'm guessing, versus Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson for the tag team titles. So who do you think's winning this one?
I want the club to win it, but it's gonna be the New Day. I think the best storyline is they're gonna try to get them as close to Demolition as possible. and then either have them lose it or break it. But I don't think they're losing tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're not doing Gallows and Anderson any favors by having them lose, but it needs, I think, because I think the New Day is going to win, because I do think they're going to break Demolition's record. So it needs to be kind of a fuck finish, maybe even tease the New Day being heelish again. And Gallows and Anderson just then need to go away for a little while, not be seen, so people can kind of forget that they've been losing, and they need to come back as monsters. And New Day can, because they've got a month or two before they beat Demolition's record. I think Demolition's record was 420 some odd days. Let's see. Of course, my computer's going to go slow. Tag run. See what old Google tells me. 478 days. So was on Monday. I think they said that the New Day was at 395. So a little over 2 months. Yeah, they're stretching that crap out, I think.
Real. Yeah, they're gonna stretch it out.
Because especially if nothing else, as a nice little FU to Demolition, because if I'm not mistaken, at least one of those Demolition guys is part of a lawsuit against WWE. So, and you know that the WWE is a spiteful bunch of bitches. They will go after anyone.
They erased AJ Lee from the record book as soon as she left.
Yep. And they are trying to break CM Punk's financial status with this lawsuit. They're going after him like crazy. So, yeah, it's I foresee Demolition's run being broken by the New Day, and then shortly afterwards, the New Day dropping the belts, probably to Anderson and Gallows. Because in a lot of ways, Anderson and Gallows have kind of gotten screwed since they've been in WWE, because they came in as like this big deal, and then Carl Anderson's been told to lay down for everyone and their dog. Now, if they lose to the Shining Stars at some point, we know it's game over.
But my problem was that they broke them up with AJ, and that kept them relevant even though they were losing.
True.
And that was the whole thing. They could have kept losing, but they would have been with AJ. So that made a difference, you know. Now they're kind of like a group without a leader to a point, because Finn's out and this is out. I feel like they should be someone's team or henchman or something like that right now. And maybe it's Kevin Owens, maybe it's whoever, but it feels like they would be better. They work better. If you're not going to put the belts on them, they work better as henchmen.
You know you're right. What would be cool is in a future Roman Reigns match, they come out and looks like they're about to beat down Roman Reigns, whoever he's facing, and then they attack Roman Reigns' opponent, and then Reigns joins in and turns heel, and they become a new faction.
That would be awesome.
And that would give them all something else to do. Then we have one last match, Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship. This should be a great freaking match.
But yeah, I think it's going to be a great match. I think, of course, KO's going to go over, but I think we do get the return of the game tonight. I think that's going to be a big play. I think Seth's going to be like close to winning, and then Triple H is going to make his return.
You know, and they have done, I will say, they've done a good job of, they brought in Triple H, and he has not been seen since. He showed up, he pedigreed some people, and he left. And that, I think, keeping him off TV has been great. I agree. I think Kevin Owens is winning. We're probably going to see some Hunter at some point. But, overall, I think this looks like a not bad show.
It's not a bad show. I felt like it could have been an excellent Raw.
Yes, I think
if they wanted to say Raw, this is the Clash of the Champions version, that would have been, and just build it up as we're giving you a pay-per-view quality show on Raw, that would have done more for the ratings than it's going to do for the buy rate on the network.
Agreed. They need, instead of doing this 2 pay-per-views a month nonsense, they need to have 1 pay-per-view a month and each brand trade off, okay, with the exception of the big 4 where they're both in there. So February, Raw gets the pay-per-view. March, SmackDown gets a pay-per-view, et cetera, et cetera.
I completely agree.
And then have a super show on TV. Because essentially, and we saw it with the pay-per-view that we just had, the SmackDown one, whose name I already forgot, and I think I agree with you, we're going to see it with this one. These are going to feel just like really, really good episodes of the show. And
they should just be episodes of the show.
Right.
I feel like they, right now, and I honestly, with KO being the champion, and they need to make him more of a higher profile person. He's not known to really anyone outside the wrestling world. So it's going to sound weird. I think at this point they really need to find a celebrity, somebody that's more cross-promotional for KO to have somewhat of a feud with, to get him on these other shows, to make him a bigger name, if you're going to keep him the Universal Champion for any significant amount of time. Because right now, KO is a wrestling guy. I don't know anyone, if I say KO to anyone, or I wear a KO shirt, no one outside of wrestling is going to know who he is. So if you're going to build him up, you're going to have to do something to make him different, make him stand out to outside of the wrestling world.
Yeah, even if nothing else, they need to ask The Rock to talk him up some more, which The Rock talks him up a lot, but have them show up on a talk show or something together for some reason.
Yeah, he has to have something. Yeah. They tried to do it with Seth Rollins and Jon Stewart, and they need something for KO. He needs to do something to someone outside of the wrestling world to get his name out there.
Maybe he can beat up some more crappy rappers.
Well, see, I am actually a very big MGK fan, so that was just a shot.
That was great, and he took that bump like a champ, man.
Yeah,
that was very cool. Let's move on to SmackDown, which was in Birmingham, Alabama this last week. There was a contract signing for the women's title match, and with Daniel Bryan in the ring, who says we're going to keep this thing civil, which he got booed. I thought that was great, and I thought was it here that there were some delete chants, or was that later in the show?
I think that was later in the show. Okay. I honestly don't remember where. I think, delete happened during Bray.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. You're right. Yeah. Which is perfectly fitting. Yeah. Okay, so real quick, since we'll talk about Bray here in a little bit, but rumors are that that the WWE is interested in bringing in broken Matt Hardy. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
If he's broken Matt Hardy and he does the character like he does in TNA, I'm all for it. It's getting people that haven't watched wrestling in a long time to at least watch it on YouTube. I've gotten people asking me that don't watch wrestling, asking me about what happened to Matt Hardy. So
yeah.
So I dig it. It's outside the box. It was a very desperate TNA finding something, and they finally found something that stuck. So it's one of my favorite storylines in wrestling right now.
Yeah, it would be very, very fun watching him go up against Bray Wyatt.
And the big thing was, and they can learn a lot from this on the Roman Reigns situation, Matt Hardy was a boring character.
Oh my God, no kidding.
No. They did something which a lot of people said was desperate. And they did something desperate, and he just stepped outside of his box and went completely left, and it has worked so much. It was like it was Jeff Hardy and his brother. And now it's Broken Matt and Brother Nero, and they're on equal grounds. And Broken Matt is clearly the better. His career has been resurrected by what most people consider a silly story change.
Yeah, and you're right. It's worked, and he's doing it on the indies, and he's at the point he doesn't need WWE anymore.
Yeah, and he does the character all the time. Even when we met him at Oklahoma, he stayed in character, and he kept calling him an obsolete mule, and it was hilarious. And he just came up with this whole different way to say things, and I dig it. I hated it at the beginning. I was like, this is stupid. This is depressing that they're doing this with Matt Hardy, and it's gotten over.
Yeah, and that first vignette thing where they had the contract signing at their house, and that was so bad it was good, because it was so cringy bad, and poor Jeff taking that bump on that table that had to suck. Yeah, I agree with you. If they bring him in and just let him keep doing what he's doing, then definitely the likelihood of them doing that is about -50.
They're going to WWE it up, and I'm going to lose complete interest in it.
Exactly. But back to this contract signing. So Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss come out. I thought Alexa was great on the mic.
I was going to make this point. I absolutely hate contract signings. This did what it was supposed to do, as in let Alexa on the mic and got her over.
Yeah. And she did a great job throwing that table.
Yeah.
That was good. But yeah, she is really good on the mic.
Yes.
We then had Daniel Bryan backstage getting approached and almost accosted by The Miz and Maurice, continuing the feud there.
They tried to give Daniel Bryan some ounce of power, but I'm just like, if he got a new contract, if Miz is coming from a place of power, he wouldn't agree to that you could just put me in any match that you wanted to. I mean, storyline-wise, that didn't make a lot of sense.
But, I mean, storyline-wise, the whole thing with this that to me didn't make any sense is at any point the company can strip you of the belt.
Yes.
So the Miz having any power over them other than just leaving with the physical belt, which I'm sure they have more than one of. But it was anytime the two of these guys get together, it's great because there's so much animosity between them, and I don't know how much is real and how much is just played up, but they work so well together. We then had the Usos against American Alpha. Usos got the win. They were brutal in this match. I loved the working over Chad Gable's leg, and I loved even more Jason Jordan at one point when he was at the end when he was pretty beaten down and Gable was wanting to tag in and Gable was just not able to stand and Jason was like, nope, not going to do it.
They both can sell. They both can, in essence, act really well, because at one point the way he was leaning on his leg, I thought Gable's leg was actually injured, and that with me being, with us being wrestling fans, that's a big deal to me, is when I think you're not joking anymore, that's when you're doing your job.
Yep. They're excellent at selling. They're excellent at storytelling. They are, but it was absolutely the right decision to have them lose. They cannot win the titles yet. They've been here for less than a cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. You can't just give them the belts.
If you give them the belts, the crowd's going to turn on them.
Exactly. We then had Heath Slater and Rhino backstage sharing some
cheese and crackers.
Yes, that was good stuff. You can kind of tell Rhino's starting to get fed up with Heath Slater, but then when the Usos came in and Rhino got right up in their face when they were insulting Heath, it was almost like he has this I can talk smack about my friend, but you can't.
Yes, and the Usos are getting very much more comfortable with their heel personas.
Yeah,
it's still coming out. It's not there yet, but it's getting there.
Yes, I agree. We then have Apollo Crews against Baron Corbin with Jack Swagger on the commentary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
Apollo again with 3 exclamation marks. I'm so tired of this match. Yeah. I seriously wanted to turn the channel, but I wanted to see if Jack Swagger established his character on commentary. He did not.
Yeah. Well, Swagger, he just he's not a good talker, and some of that is his lisp. But the way he's dressing, just in jeans and a t-shirt, he certainly looks more intimidating. I really hope he's going to have some new ring gear, because that singlet does nothing to make him look like a badass. I mean, I know it makes sense because he was
You ever wrestle Major Wrestling, you ever wear a singlet.
Right, exactly, and it doesn't work anymore. Because you kind of forget, this is a big, imposing dude.
Yes.
I mean, he's like Sasquatch.
He's the largest guy. I mean, him and Baron Corbin are eye to eye. And he's one of the largest dudes on the roster. I've always thought Jack Swagger, he's one of those people that should go away for a while, maybe work the indies and come back, because I think he put on some hell of a matches in Ring of Honor, because he'd just be this giant dude, you know? And
yeah,
I mean, I think he'd put on great matches. I mean, TNA or whatever. He's just this giant dude, and they have never really imposed how big this man is.
Which is ironic, coming from the land of the giants.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, when he debuted, he probably wasn't big compared to the roster. But now when you look at the roster and Triple H has gotten all the 6 foot and under crew in, he's a giant dude on this roster.
Yep. Yeah. The thing that I took away from this match was, one, Apollo was not smiling, which is a good thing. But there was a moment where Corbin had him on the barricade and had his head laying on the barricade and was just laying in with these forearms. And that looked, that actually kind of bothered me. I was like, man, he's gonna F this dude up. That looked bad.
That is him doing his job. So, especially to you, when you and me, we watched this so much, specifically, the fact it looked brutal, and I imagine he was taken care of and whatever, because I haven't heard any fallout from it.
Yeah. And poor Apollo dropped a couple F-bombs during this, so he was either playing it up or Corbin was really laying into him. Corbin got the win again. Poor Apollo.
Again.
Yeah, so this match needs to not happen again, probably ever, if not at least for a year. And
their characters would have to be completely changed.
Yes.
It's seriously, I think, and this is an actual number, I think it's the 6th time we've got them on TV or pay-per-view since they debuted.
Oh my God.
It's too much.
Yeah, and this is one of the problems we're going to run into with SmackDown, with their roster being so much smaller.
But those two didn't have to be anywhere near each other. It's just, like I said, it's lazy. It's lazy booking.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. So here's to hoping we get a Jack Swagger Baron Corbin feud, which I kind of am surprisingly interested in.
Yeah. And I believe the first couple times that they wrestle, there shouldn't be a winner.
Oh yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. That's a great idea.
They should just beat the crap out of each other. Maybe the referee stops the match or whatever, but you have to. The point is to get Baron over while actually reestablishing Jack's character. I don't think either one should lose for a while.
Yeah, amen. You're on. Yeah, I agree. What was next? So we next had a really god-awful Kurt Hawkins vignette. Him just spouting off nonsense.
Oh, he was starting out like Chuck Norris-isms.
Oh, God.
As Kurt Hawkins. And it was just, I get what they're doing. I think they should have more presence of him doing these on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, that type of thing, to try to establish his character outside of the WWE. Maybe bring in some people that don't know who he is. But as a wrestling one, yeah, we find it stupid, but I think the most casual fans will laugh because it's a clear ripoff.
Yeah, that's a good point. We then got Naomi and Nikki Bella doing a backstage interview. Naomi, I thought, was really good in this. Nikki Bella was just as vapid as ever.
Great job with Naomi establishing her character. Nikki got in a good comment with the bootleg Bella type thing.
That was good.
That was my pull from that.
Yeah. And I think they're real life friends, aren't they?
Yeah, I think most of the Total Divas are actually real life friends.
Okay, so that at least you know that that's not a faked friendship. So Ziggler then had a backstage interview that was pretty good. Well,
I thought it was boring. I feel like, and I actually commented on Twitter to him that he says the same thing every time in his promos.
Yeah,
every time. I work hard. I steal the show. Blah blah blah. I gotta put it all on the line. Blah blah blah. He says the same thing every time.
Yeah. So
I love DZ, but yeah, his character is so lame right now.
It really is. He needs to have. I'm guessing there's going to be a rubber match between him and The Miz at the next pay-per-view at No Mercy. He needs to lose, and he needs to lose his shit.
But I was going to say, I don't understand it being called a rubber match because it usually means both of the guys won.
Okay.
The Miz is won every time.
Blow-off match.
Yeah. Because I'm like, this is Baron and Apollo. Miz wins every time they wrestle. What's the point?
Yeah. Yeah, he needs to lose, and what he needs to do, because this was, we had the Dolph Ziggler Miz match. Miz was doing some more great Daniel Bryan impersonations. I loved the slingshot sit-out powerbomb. I thought that was really cool. Maurice got ejected from ringside, which was great. Miz wins using the spray stuff in the face into the skull-crushing finale. It was a good match. These two have great matches together.
The classic way was how Miz rolled in, dropped the belt, and grabbed the spray in one motion.
Yeah.
I didn't even see him grab the spray.
Yeah, I thought he grabbed it when they were on the outside of the ring, but yeah, it was...
No, he rolled in, and he grabbed it as he was rolling in. Because I actually had to slow it down because I did not see when he got the spray.
Yeah. So here's what I think should happen. They need to have one more match, and it needs to be at No Mercy, and Miz needs to win clean. And just afterwards, after the match... Dolph is either just flips out and goes crazy, or is sitting there all dejected, gets up, shakes the Miz's hand, says, "You know what? You were the better man." Shows up on Tuesday and just starts killing people.
Yeah, I agree.
Or
Heel Ziggler was the Ziggler that was my favorite wrestler at one point in time. I didn't like when he went face. I don't like him as a face. His character does not as the face. It just doesn't work. Unless he's the lovable loser, which is what he's been. Yeah. He's the Chicago Cubs of the WWE, and I'm tired of watching him lose.
Yeah. So actually, as we were talking and as you were talking, I rethought this. So he loses to the Miz and No Mercy, shakes his hand, walks off dejected. Tuesday comes out, is all dejected, has a match with Apollo Crews, loses clean and loses his mind, and then pummels Crews for like a good few minutes afterwards, and then just goes crazy because that will give him focus on someone else. So
I agree, and then you will never know who's going to win their match because they've both been losing so much.
Exactly, and they would have good matches. Man, those two could have good matches because after Miz loses to Ziggler loses to Miz again, he's not doing anything, and Apollo's not doing anything. So it would be a good way to rehab both of them. And
Dolph goes heel and Apollo becomes his new Big E, his black man slave.
They were so good together, though, Big E.
Yes, but Big E is just really good.
Yeah,
he's just one of those people. He's really good. He's a really good wrestler. He's really good on the backstage. He has the expressions, and he has no shame. So he'll pretty much do anything. So Big E is amazing. When they broke up Dolph and Big E, that was one of those things that kind of broke my heart because they went so well together.
Yeah, see, now I'm going to have to think about this more. More fantasy booking for later on.
Yeah.
So this takes us to, we had Eric Rowan against Randy Orton.
RKO.
Yeah,
that was the match.
Yeah, exactly. Bray cut promo on the Tron, and then lights, flashy, mask left in the ring, ooh, spooky.
Bray says the same thing every time, too.
He does.
I mean, he might do it a different way or tell a little story beforehand, but ends up being that he's a god and you're not.
Yeah. He needs to go full on babyface. At this point, I would love to see him have a feud with AJ Styles and he be the babyface.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool. We had then Natalya and Carmella versus Nikki Bella and Naomi.
The battle of the end names.
Yeah.
Carmella just sticks out.
Oh, yeah. The thing that confused me about this is the fact that somehow Carmella caused a DQ on her own team.
She pulled out the ring, threw against the barricade. I guess that counts as jumping in the ring, and maybe he did the 5 count. It actually didn't make any sense.
No, it made... Yeah, it was almost like they were like, oh, shit, we got to end this. It was just... Yeah, I don't know. So, less we say about that, the better.
Yeah.
AJ Styles is backstage shining up the belt, which I loved.
This was my favorite segment of the night, just because when you get it, the worst part about a heel is when he's right, and when he points out that neither one of them are his rivals because they've never beaten him. I was like, wow, that is so true. Heel promo for the win.
Yes. Then we had the main event, John Cena against Dean Ambrose, and I swear to you, at the beginning, as Cena's coming out, I saw a kid in an AJ t-shirt with going thumbs down. I was like, have we turned the tide finally? Are kids finally seeing through John Cena, or did I realize, oh wait, is that AJ's kid?
That's his dad. Like as I say, that kid's dad is a smart. And there you go.
That was great. I loved that. Admittedly, I actually watched this morning, and so I only kind of caught bits and pieces of it. I really like the Ambrose got the win, especially a fluke win with a
away. John Cena never loses.
Yep. So the only thing that I wonder is this now. Cena's lost a couple of times. Does this mean for sure he's getting that win at No Mercy? Are they going to give him the Flair 16 at a B pay-per-view?
I don't want them to give him the Flair 16 ever, so I don't know. But all I can say about it is he's not going to win that match because they need somebody that's working every week.
Yeah.
They're not going to take the title. They did everything to get that title on SmackDown. And if John Cena is gone shooting his show, you're basically taking the title off of SmackDown. It makes, no sense.
Yep. Then I did love after the match AJ hitting the phenomenal forearm out of nowhere from the crowd.
Yes.
I mean, just appearing and taking out Cena, and then eventually laying out Ambrose laying him out after Daniel Bryan came out saying there's a match next week. So yeah.
The weakest looking finish in the WWE is that double arm DDT.
Really?
I just think it looks so weak. The way he does it, it looks weak to me. I didn't like it when Mick Foley did it. I love it as a setup move, maybe, but if the original Dirty Deeds was one of my favorite moves, and I've tried to literally just try to get over the fact that he has switched moves, but the original one was better. It was it was unique.
Why did he switch moves? I mean, EC3
it was him and Adam Rose. They were debuting Adam Rose, and their moves were similar, so they just thought it was easier to switch Dean's move.
That's in hindsight.
Yeah. And Adam Rose is not even with the company anymore, and I keep hoping that they bring back the original Dirty Deeds, but they don't.
Yeah. Speaking of Adam Rose, he also had a great spine buster.
He did. I was not a big Adam Rose guy, so but he did have a good and I did like him when he finally went to the social outcast and he just started speaking nonsensical every week. I dug that as a character. I feel like we need more nonsensical promos.
I loved the social outcasts. I thought they were fantastic.
They were. Yeah. And it's just like when they decided what to break up at the draft, I just felt like they broke up the wrong stuff.
Yeah, they broke up. Well, breaking up the Lucha Dragons, honestly, who cares?
Nobody cared, and that was okay.
Yeah, but putting Kalisto on Raw when you're going to have a Cruiserweight division putting him on SmackDown was stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, breaking up the Social Outcasts. Now, granted, we've gotten this awesome Heath Slater-ness out of it. So that's been great. Let's go into NXT. So NXT opened with some highlights from last week with the Samoa Joe Nakamura stuff. Then Joe came in, cut a great promo, read off Nakamura's medical report, says he's not going to be able to wrestle for 6 to 12 weeks. He calls out William Regal, demands either to be handed the title or given a match with Nakamura. And this was great, I thought.
It's what's needed when you have a feud with Nakamura. The person that speaks English is going to have to sell the match. So that's Samoa Joe in this point. You right now Nakamura off the show because basically you don't want him just destroying everybody on your show. You have Samoa Joe sell the match, and that's what he's done. He sold the hell out of that match.
He did, yeah. So how much longer before you think Nakamura is on the main roster?
I'd say he'll make his debut WrestleMania.
What about Joe? You think Joe's ever going to make it up?
I don't know, because I think Nakamura's going to be there until they can build up NXT some more. Even though they don't, I know Vince doesn't really care about NXT being big, but they need some more stars. They need to get more stars. So I don't think they're going to call anyone up for a while. I think Joe would be on SmackDown, of course, because that's who needs him. But I don't think they're going to call anyone up for a while. I really think they're going to go back to establishing the NXT roster so people actually care about the TakeOver stuff.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. One thing I would like to see happen is at the Royal Rumble, I think what they need to do is say, so at the Royal Rumble, that SmackDown and Raw each get 10 slots. Mm-hmm. And then there are 10 slots that can either come from people coming in from the outside or from NXT. And so that way you've got it, you keep it real fresh. So you always have, 10 people that you're like, okay, who's going to show up? Okay. I think that would be a cool way to do it. And you could even, 5 or 7 of those 10 people could be, your DDPs, your people you're the boogeyman who come in just for the holy crap, it's so-and-so factor. But I digress. So we then had highlights from the Kota Ibushi Cedric Alexander match at the Cruiserweight Classic. And God,
my favorite match of the year.
Oh yeah, that is. Oh. And then we had a Cedric Alexander backstage interview. They need to stop WWE and these guys and let them talk to the camera, because Cedric's a good talker, but it's like, stop giving him lines, just let him talk.
And let me just say this: everywhere he came from is not PG, so yeah, maybe it might be a bit of him. You have to redefine your character when you go into the WWE world. That
is true. We then got another interview, this one with Liv Morgan backstage. She eventually was approached by Asuka. This is going to end in Liv dying.
Yeah.
At the hands of Asuka.
But it's one of those things. They can, if they do it well, because they used to, this was a storytelling thing in the 80s. And even in the 90s, they did it with 1, 2, 3 Kid and Bret Hart, where she puts on a good match with Asuka, and she gets respect for not getting totally destroyed, if done correctly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what needs to happen, because she's someone she's not terrible.
Yeah, she's good on the mic. She's a pretty good wrestler. She definitely tell she's trained by WWE because she does the 7 moves and then a submission. So, I really dig her. I dig her as a character and what she brings to it. Like I said, it's just one of those things. Maybe she gets out of the Asuka lock. Maybe she does something and she just really presses Asuka and makes her really, really try. And it was, I believe they actually used this in NXT before with Cesaro and Sami Zayn, where Cesaro won every match, but Sami Zayn got closer and closer every time.
Yeah.
So If they wanted to do something like that, they could get Liv Morgan over.
Yeah, you're right. Perfect. Yeah. Let's see what was next. Oh, we had Oni Lorcan.
Yeah.
God damn it! What's with that name? Who did he piss off?
A lot of WWE. He probably picked that name.
Why?
Yeah, no, they have gotten away from the WWE name machine, and they have really let wrestlers start picking their own names.
Oh my God! Why couldn't he have just said, "Okay, fine, I want to be Biff Busick"?
Because he can't be Biff Busick, because once he gets released from the WWE, he'd probably like to still have a wrestling career.
But Cedric Alexander can be Cedric Alexander?
I think that's his real name.
But Tommaso Ciampa can be Tommaso Ciampa?
It's been confusing lately, especially in the last year, where Joe is Joe and all these people are their character names. So I believe at some point they do. I know they added a CM Punk stipulation where basically you have to sell your trademark to the WWE, or at least like rent your trademark to the WWE.
Yeah, I think that's what they did with AJ. Is they came up with a deal where basically he owns the trademark, but he rents it to the WWE so that they can use his font, this P1, which is the same thing he's had since TNA. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and that's I mean, my God, these guys make a name for themselves on the independents. And especially if they become big, let them keep their names, man. You just figure out a nice way to where you both can make money from it. And then when basically, I would say have a contract that says, while you're here, we both make money from this. When you're gone, you keep your name, but we can still use your name in old footage.
Yeah, and I believe if your name is big enough, you can keep it. Biff Busick, I've never heard of him until he...
I'd heard a little bit of him.
I had never heard of him until I am really impressed with how he works. I love his European uppercuts.
Those are good.
But yeah.
Yeah, so this match was against Austin Aries, and I thought this was a really good match, but just one last thing on the name. But that name sucks, man. Oni Lorcan? What the fuck?
He could probably tell you where it came from, and when they start really trying to build him up, they're probably going to let you know. It's going to be a storytelling device at one point.
It needs to be. But this was a really good match, I thought. Austin got it was really good in that Oni Biff lost, but he looked really, really good in the match.
He looked really strong in the match. Did you notice that Austin Aries did the GTS from a suplex position?
That's what he... Okay, I saw him do his... That's what it was. Because the angle wasn't really good. I saw him go into a suplex, and then...
He hit him with his knee. So it was basically the GTS from a suplex position.
Yeah, that's nice.
So it was like a little subtle storytelling. Corey Graves and... I forgot the other guy's name that calls it.
Tom Phillips.
Tom Phillips missed it. It would have been a great way to get the fact over that he basically just stole his move.
Yeah, and so Aries cut a really good heel promo after the match, which of course brought out Hideo Itami, and as soon as Itami hit the ring, Austin runs off. Classic heel maneuvers. The whole thing was really good.
His character kind of reminds me of the early 90s Bret Hart, where, he's like an assassin type dude, and he's coming in to hurt you, like for real hurt you. And I kind of dig the Tommy character right now.
Yeah, I do
because
too.
it's different than Nakamura. They're not playing these generic Japanese stereotypes.
Thank God.
Yeah,
and that's the one. It's not like the world isn't multicultural, obviously, and the WWE as a whole is a company big enough to have multiple Japanese wrestlers, but if Kota Ibushi had come in there too, and it's a part of me thinks it's like, okay, how's Vince old, semi-racist butt gonna be able to handle this, having that many Japanese guys?
Well, with the internet and everything, Kota Ibushi, to most people in America that, don't watch wrestling, him and KO are probably the same name. You know what I'm saying? It's not, you get more you get more presence because you can watch New Japan or whatever the Japanese wrestling company is. You can just watch it on the internet now. Yeah. It's not this thing where you've never heard of these guys for 10 years and WWE are trying to get over. Most of them have huge fan bases on their own.
Oh, that's true, and you can tell by the reactions that Kota Ibushi got throughout the Cruiserweight Classic. I mean, people were just, and it just also the fact that his matches were some of the best matches in the entire tournament. I mean, when we look back and go, okay, what were the 5 best matches out of this tournament? At least 2 of them are Kota Ibushi matches.
That is true.
So yeah, he
wrestles a very entertaining style, and that the elevated powerbomb, the last ride from a cruiserweight, especially since he's a bigger cruiserweight, it looks really impressive.
Yeah, I agree. Here's to hoping that he goes back to Japan, gets done what he needs to get done, maybe has a really good feud with Kenny Omega, and then comes back and makes a big statement in WWE. That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah. We then had a vignette for a dude named Dan Matha.
I had to look him up. He's freaking huge. Muscular guy, looks like he's completely WWE trained. So he's basically going to be, I wouldn't call him the Baron Corbin, but he's going to kind of play the big guy role for them. And like I said, they're reestablishing the roster right now.
Yeah, which they need to do. And it'll be good for them to bring in, because as great as it is to see all these great indie darlings on there, they need to bring in some non-known people to build up to.
Yeah, I'm very excited about Patrick Clark. He was on the Tough Enough show.
Yes.
I'm really excited about him. I think he's ring ready, but I don't know what they want to do with him character-wise yet.
Yeah, I'd much rather see him over the Yeti.
Yeah, he's more like the Patriot, or that's his character right now. His pants and boots are all like the American flag, and it's got an eagle on it. So I can imagine him debuting soon. I really dug him. He's really cool. Like, I met him in person, and he was really awesome dude, and I can't wait. And again, he's really about not playing the normal African American character. He really wants to play against type.
Good. Well, good. That's we need more of that, especially in the WWE.
Yeah, because, I mean, as multicultural as the world is, people aren't as simple-minded as the Irish guy has to have red hair and has to fight anymore. It's just, he can just be a guy that happens to be Irish.
Exactly. My last thought real quick on this damn Martha guy, or Marta, or whatever his name is.
Martha.
Martha. Whatever. Sasquatch. Was just watching this, I was like, yep, that's a Vince guy.
Yeah, very much a Vince guy. And you're going to get the Vince guys.
And
it's what they do with it once they get there. Because like I think Baron Corbin is very much started as a Vince guy. And he's really trying to play this badass type character and try to get away from the fact that he just happens to be 7 foot tall.
Yeah. He was, in my opinion, he was the most improved wrestler of last year.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of plateaued. But... and a lot of that just comes from his mic skills or lack thereof.
Yeah.
But one other real quick note, since we talked a little bit about Tough Enough, did you hear that ZZ was dropped?
Yes, I did. And that was, to me, it was very much a blip on the radar because you could pretty much tell he didn't love it or care enough about it to make it.
Yeah, but the stuff on Breaking Ground, he was not... poor guy. He was trying. I don't think. Well, one, he's a child, but I don't think he realized how much work it was going to be.
And I don't think he has a natural work ethic.
No, you're right. Because I saw him on that damn swamp show. I was stuck in a Firestone, getting my car worked on one day, and the History Channel had a marathon of those gator hunting swamp people. Freaks of nature, man. That is weird shit. But he was on there. Man, these people were characters. And honestly, I think he just wants to go out and fight gators.
Yeah.
And if you can make a living doing that and you're happy, more power to you. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. There was a Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa interview from last week, which was after. When was that supposed to be filmed? Was that after CWC? Okay, that's what I thought.
Their match at CWC final.
Which, God, that was a good match. And they get interrupted by the Revival, and there was a big brawl.
That was actually pretty good. It was very good for what they could do outside, so that was kind of cool.
I absolutely love all four of those guys.
I do. I can't disagree because Ciampa, I think he's going to be the most WWE ready of them all, just because of his character, the Psycho Killer, and he can get over with that.
Yeah, I can see that. He will. It'll be interesting in the long run to see where they all go. I think they've got potential long-term gold with Johnny Gargano. Mm-hmm. It's but whatever happens, he will need to be on whichever show Sami Zayn is on. He needs to be on the other one
because he is Sami Zayn.
Right, he is a
I think
shorter.
He's better on the mic than Sami Zayn.
I could see that, yeah. But yeah, so I agree with you. This was really good for what they could do outside, and the Revival are just awesome. Just yeah. So we then had Aaliyah in a match against Billie Kay. Aaliyah has gotten much better since what they showed on Breaking Ground.
And I hate to be sexist, she's super hot. There you go. Because you shouldn't mention that. I know you shouldn't mention that because she's a wrestler. I'm supposed to just watch her wrestle, but she's so hot.
She is. Listen, both of them are.
Yeah. See, I'm not really into Billie Kay, but
yeah, no, but she is. Yeah, Aaliyah.
She's pretty. Don't get me wrong. She probably wouldn't have a job if she wasn't. But
see, and I think Billie Kay though is actually a really good wrestler. I think she and Peyton Royce.
She's very good at because she has the long legs type thing, and she's very good at using them in her matches. And you can tell she's worked the indie scene for a while. Yeah, because I thought they actually put on a pretty, I would say, decent to good match.
Yeah, I agree. This was for a rebuilding time match. I thought this was good.
Yeah. This is like a horrible time for anybody to start watching NXT.
It really is.
Because it's kind of a fairly just 3 matches and you're out type show right now.
My favorite line from Corey Graves during this part was at one point he says, and I forget the context, but he said to Tom Phillips, "That's great detective work there, Chief Hopper," and it just made me laugh.
Yes, because they were saying "oi, oi, oi, oi," and he said, "I think that's an ode to her Australian roots," and that's when he said that.
That was great. We then had Mandy. Speaking of Tough Enough, Mandy doing a backstage interview that was awful.
Yeah.
It's just, and that girl, her makeup was so caked on.
Yeah.
It's just, I wanted to just like take something and start scraping it off.
Yeah. She's very naturally pretty. I mean, when I met her, she's a very pretty chick. She works, from what I understand, from everything I read, she works really hard. And I don't know what that means, by the way. I don't know what she works hard. I mean, if you suck and you work hard at it and you still suck, I don't know why I'm supposed to give you credit. But apparently she's at the training facility every day, all day, trying to get better. So she's worked well enough to where they want to put her on TV. So that works.
There you go. And then we had the main event, which was probably my favorite match of the week. Cedric Alexander versus Andrade Cien Almas.
Yes.
There's a great pop for Cedric when he came out. And even before Almas came out, we had some Let's Go Cedric chants. And, the other thing, Almas was, for the second time since he's been in NXT, showing personality. This was his best match since he's been in NXT, I think.
I think he's about to go heel. I do think they're setting the seeds for that because all he does is loses now. But the match was really, really good. It actually made me respect Almas more because it seemed like most of his matches since he's gotten there have been kind of vanilla, and they kind of wrestled a cruiserweight match, and they kind of took each other there, and it was a really good match. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, I remember when they had announced the Cruiserweight Classic, there was a lot of talk that Almas or La Sombra, before he got his new name, would be in. A lot of people thought he was going to be in the CWC. So the fact that they give him and Alexander a match here was great. It was perfect. And yeah, I love the handshake hug at the end and the tease for almost maybe a heel turn, but not. And this is, I think Alexander was the perfect guy to help get Almas over, even in defeat. Because you're right, he has been boring as all get out since he's been in NXT, and now finally getting a match with someone who is probably closer to the style he's used to working.
Yeah, I'm going to say the problem with it, I think mostly, is when you get the luchas that wrestle lucha style, real lucha style, and they have been mostly in Mexico their career, they don't have a lot of people that are WWE trained that know how to work with them. So now that you have those, what is it? If you count Tommaso and Gargano, you have those 6 guys or 8 guys that have been signed from the CWC that have wrestled all over the world. They can wrestle that style, and he'll have more time to showcase himself.
Yeah, that's true. But you would
he
think
has to tone himself down so much to wrestle with Americans.
Yeah. Well, you would think, though, he spent a lot of time in Japan, too. So, I mean, he's a former IWGP Intercontinental Champion. So you would think he has some more experience wrestling various styles. But then again, maybe I don't know when he was in New Japan. So, because New Japan goes from times from being just mostly almost all Japanese and luchadors, and then sometimes, like now, having a lot of international people, a lot of Americans, people from all across the world, in a much more varied style. As New Japan is, it's a Japanese organization and everything, and there are far more Japanese people in it than non-Japanese people, but there's a good chunk of that roster that's not Japanese. So you would, but yeah, I think you're right though. Getting people who are more familiar with that lucha style, who maybe even wrestled in CMLL or AAA or any of those places. But yeah, I loved this. This was a great freaking match, and also something that is a little thing that I thought was kind of neat. Tom Phillips at one point referred to Almas as ACA, and I like that. I was like, maybe that's what they need to start calling this guy. And maybe it's too close to ACH, maybe. But it's his name is a real tongue-twisting mouthful. So I don't know, but I liked it.
I like it. I liked it also. I agree that the match was over. It was the match that made me most interested in him. So that worked for me. I mean, they need to build as many people as they can up so they can at some point start calling people up. But, I think it would gut the show to bring up Joe or Nakamura right now or the Revival. It would gut the show.
Yeah.
So, you really...
Yeah, you can't...
Set it up before you can do that.
Agreed. And the other, I think, with Almas, I think in his match he had with Bobby Roode in Brooklyn, that was really the first point that really started to get some personality out of him. So hopefully this will be a good trend, especially with the cruiserweight guys that they signed are all going to be spending time in NXT, which I think is a great idea. You just have them. You don't have them tour with the Raw house shows. You have them stay in Orlando and then fly to wherever Raw is, do a match on Raw, go back to NXT and work there, work the house show circuit in Florida or whatever they're doing with NXT. I think is the much better way to go.
Definitely.
Speaking of house shows, so this was before we move on to non-WWE stuff. So something I was thinking about with the ratings going down and house show attendance getting really sad. I know that SmackDown runs a house show on Monday nights while Raw is on, and if I'm not mistaken, Raw runs a house show when SmackDown is on.
That is correct.
I think it would be a very good idea, and I don't know how this would affect the company long-term financially, but it would be a great idea if they got rid of those house shows and cut down the number of house shows they do dramatically. Maybe have one house show for each brand a week, and that is it. So that would give the wrestlers more chance to recover, because they're beating the holy hell out of each other. And what's that saying that distance makes the heart grow fonder?
Absence.
Absence, thank you, yeah. So let's stop having so many freaking house shows.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is not the Vince way. When the numbers get lower, he doubles the shows. Because that means he's now getting the same numbers. So, yeah.
But, see,
it makes sense to a point. I mean, to me, largely, I have never been a house show guy. Because largely wrestling is a TV show now. And when you're not really furthering the storylines, I don't find myself as interested. I'd rather go see like an indie show than our WWE house show. Because I just know there's certain things they're not going to do, and it just bores me. But when it comes down to it, I mean, the house shows, they're probably making most of their money on the backstage stuff. Because that's the aspect of all the live shows, is parents that want to bring their kids backstage. So they're making a lot of money off of that. But I agree that less would be more.
Yeah, the thing with house shows, I think, is the wrestlers have more freedom, so they do more stuff. I think, from what I've heard, a lot of times the house shows are actually more entertaining.
And they don't generally have agents on house shows.
But I almost liken it to fan fiction.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why do I want to take time with something that's not canon? If it doesn't count, why should I bother? Because it's, especially now, it is hard enough keeping up with the crap that counts.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and I just also, it is, you are having a hard time getting people to watch your television show. So why would you, in a particular city, pull 3 to 500 some odd people away from their televisions who would probably be watching your show to go to a house show? Because ratings are important, and if they lose USA, they're in trouble.
Yeah, and it's funny because like WWE likes to compare itself to most sports. That most sports, their TV numbers are going up because everyone wants to stay home and do that. The WWE is kind of in this weird area where their house show numbers are going down, and their TV is going down because people are watching the live sports, the actual competitive sports. So it's kind of crazy. They're gonna have to try something, and generally it's probably gonna have to be someone else other than Vince making the final decision. That's not going to happen, so I don't generally hold my breath for a lot of change right now.
Hopefully when Vince retires, that'll be something they do, is they cut back on the number of house shows.
Yeah, that'll be a sad day for me in general, because Vince is everything, but I get why it needs to happen at this point.
Yeah, see, it's funny. I love professional wrestling, and I enjoy the WWE, but I kind of think Vince McMahon is a scumbag.
Well, I mean, he's the most successful person in the business. If you go to any company and you find the most successful person in the business, they're probably a scumbag.
That's true. That's very true.
You don't get to the top by making friends and being flowers. He's been good to a lot of people, but he's been shitty to a lot of people also. So, I mean, it's what's necessary. I always say when people talk about politicians, and I'm just using this in general terms because I know this is a lot of political show, when they say, well, this guy lied, I always say, that's what I really want out of my politician. I don't want a good person to be a politician. I need an asshole to be my politician.
Yeah, because let's be completely honest on the political thing here for a second. The last really good person we had in the White House was Jimmy Carter, and he was a god-awful president.
Yeah. So
tremendous human being.
So I don't generally leaders of the other countries are scumbags, so I need a scumbag that can play just as dirty.
Okay, well said. I like that. So let's talk about a little TNA. Did you get to watch TNA this week?
I did. I did not watch the whole show. I watched blips because it comes on Thursday night, and honestly by Thursday I'm generally wrestling out. So TNA suffers for it because they're actually really, really, really trying right now, and they're doing a pretty decent job. And it hurts me because, like I said, I'm just pretty much done with wrestling by Thursday. Waiting on Monday to come around or Sunday to come around. Because, if you look now, let's say pay-per-view, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, NXT, that's 9 hours of television.
Oh, God, why'd you have to put it like that?
That's 9 hours of television.
Oh, it's like a full day of work.
Thursday, where that would take me into the 10, 11 hour of television, or Friday, well, that would take me into 12th hour, or Friday or Saturday if I watched ROH. I'm pretty much shot with wrestling. I want to watch other TV shows. I want to watch the other sports. It's just 9 hours is a lot of time in my week to dedicate to wrestling.
I'm right there with you. I actually watched a little bit of TNA this week as well.
And like I said, they're doing a good job. So it actually makes me feel bad that they're the actual ones that are taking the blunt of me getting tired of wrestling.
So which segments did you watch?
Let's see. I saw the Cody Rhodes vignette.
Which they showed twice.
Yeah, which they showed twice. I hate that he has to just go by Cody, but I get it. I guess he could go by Cody Runnels if he really wanted to. I saw the women's vignette, and Maria Kanellis, who was amazing on the mic. Amazing on the mic. God, I mean, I feel like she's what the women's division in the WWE is missing, because she's so much better than all of them on the mic. That's pretty cool, her and the whole Gail Kim thing. And I saw the end with I did actually watch the whole match with Moose and Moose and EC3 versus Mike Bennett and Lashley.
Yeah, I watched. I saw the vignette. I saw bits of the knockout segment. And you're right, Maria Kanellis is fantastic on the mic. But the wrestling part of it really reminded me of some of the Bad Divas stuff.
She does not wrestle, even in the indies. She just pretty much is Mike Bennett's voice.
And she's perfect at it. I mean, I don't know why she has to walk out in ring gear other than the fact that she looks fantastic in it.
But her whole gimmick right now, I know you probably haven't watched it in a few weeks, is that she has been the head of the Knockouts division, and she kind of finagled the Knockouts division into where her assistant became the champ, and she made her assistant lay down, and that's how she won the title. She never actually wrestled.
Okay, so that's actually kind of good.
So she was in like a dress and heels, and she just made her assistant lay down, and that's how she became the Knockouts World Champion. And now, like, seriously, her match with Gail Kim next week at Bound for Glory is going to be her first match, her first actual wrestling match,
which will be interesting. Yeah, she is so good on the mic. Her in Ring of Honor when the Kingdom was together, and her as the mouthpiece of the Kingdom was just awesome. I loved that. And I watched part of I watched kind of the Grand Championship stuff. That's just stupid. It's just
I only think it's stupid because it's still just wrestling. It's just broken up wrestling.
Yeah.
It's not more physical. They don't wrestle strong style, which is what I think that it should be. I think it should be flat out Japanese strong style, because I would buy that needing to be broke up into rounds. And I would love to see a guy just win with a straight forearm to the face or something like that. I think they could do it. It just needs to be stiffer. And if Drew Galloway literally punches some guy in the eye and you actually see him have a black eye, it would suck, for the dude that's taking it, but it would get the division over.
And, speaking of stiff, that's something in watching everything I saw in TNA, and this goes kind of back to previous TNA that I've watched, is none of these, they don't look like they're actually hitting each other at all. And that kind of bothers me. I mean, I know it's scripted, but the forearm smashes are awful. It's just so bad. One thing I want to know, how was Moose able to keep his song?
Oh, it's his song.
Oh, so he paid
for the song, everything. It's literally his song.
Okay, that's a great song.
Yeah.
That's him coming into the Moose chants. I really like him. And I've always liked his... I'm not a fan of the spear as a finishing move. I'm not. I'm sure it hurts. I don't want to take one. But I like the flip thing he used to do, which I see now Lashley has started doing.
And that's the whole thing. Yeah, it's funny. We are coming in on very different ends of it. I think the flip makes it look super fake.
Really?
Like super fake. Like who when making contact with someone would just decide to flip at the end of it?
Good point.
Yeah, I'm just like, it just makes it completely ridiculous to the point where I said that to Moose. And I was like, I am so glad you're not using that spear anymore. He's like, why? Because the flip at the end made it ridiculous. It's a ridiculous move. And
what's his move now?
It's a spinning lariat.
Okay.
So he's the playmaker or game breaker or something like that.
So he's using the Rainmaker.
Yeah.
He stole Okada's move.
Okay. He does it really slowly, and I don't like that. I wish it was faster.
Yeah, because he's actually really good, but he's also sloppy. But I mean, he hasn't been wrestling that awful long, so I can forgive that.
Yeah, he does that thing where he goes from the second rope to the top rope like a springboard into, I would just kind of like a splash. That is amazing.
Yeah, that is good stuff. Yeah. I love Mike Bennett. I think he is. I used to hate him, and then I realized, I hate him because he's doing his job so well. And so
The problem with Mike Bennett, in which I don't have many problems with it, he unfortunately went to a TNA where they're trying to go more towards the WWE wrestlers, and he looks so tiny compared to everyone else.
He's pretty tall, though. I mean...
No, I'm just saying. Like, his build. He was in a match with EC3, Lashley, and Moose. EC3 is not that tall, but he is freaking bodybuilder.
Yeah, he's
Then you got Lashley, who looks like he ate another version of himself, and then you have the Moose, who's an offensive tackle from the NFL. He looked like a cruiserweight compared to them.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, where in Ring of Honor, he was a pretty big guy in Ring of Honor.
Yeah, he and Matt Taven, the tag team they were so good. And I hated them at first, and then I forget which match it was that I was watching that I realized, nope, these guys are awesome.
He's awesome. I love him as a wrestler. He just happens to come into a world where I'm gonna find it really hard to believe that he beat any of these giants.
I can see that. Well, apparently the rumor is that he will be feuding with Cody Rhodes when Cody comes in.
And you know what? And Cody, why he is genetically superior as far as physical features. He's not huge, so I can buy that being a good feud for him.
So this begs a question, because we're about to talk about Ring of Honor here in a second, so this is a good segue. Cody Rhodes is going to work for TNA, and he's going to work for Ring of Honor.
Yes.
On TV for both of them.
He's not going to be exclusive, and he can leave at any time in case the WWE comes calling.
Man, how did he finagle that?
He's Cody effing Rhodes.
There you go. And of all the people...
I mean, his last name, if anything, my dad was Dusty. They're going to make different... And he's really good. They're going to make different rules for him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting that he can, by the end of this year, he will be able to say he was in WWE, he was on an Evolve pay-per-view, he was on he was a Bola, he's going to be on TNA television, Ring of Honor television.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
And he's going to build his brand. He's going to build his name, and he's going to go back to WWE. He's been very clear about the mission statement.
So this begs the question, do you think him being let go, was this all a plan where they go do this thing on the indies? Was this him just asking, say, let me go for a while, rebuild myself, and come back?
Yeah, I've taken care of my money. I don't need basically what the WWE pays anymore. My wife is fairly financially independent also, so I can take this time. I can go to Japan. I can do all this stuff, and I can build my character, and I can come back. They kind of told Wade Barrett to do that, and then Wade Barrett pretty much decided he didn't want to wrestle anymore. But I mean, it's ingenious. Like, basically, they get all the development, all you building your character up, and then they get the benefit of it when it comes down to it. I was very surprised that they didn't let him use the name Rhodes.
Yeah, that bothers me, especially since the name Rhodes was not something that they invented. That is pre-WWE. I mean, that Dusty brought that to WWE.
He should have trademarked it before signing with the WWE.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing he could have done. Maybe do kind of like a Mr. Cody Rhodes. I know you can just add something to it, so he could be like Cody Rhodes Runnels or something like that. But
the Cody Rhodes,
yeah, or spell it with a Roads.
Yeah, or Rodes instead of RH.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things he can do, but he doesn't want to damage his his relationship with the WWE, because the goal is to come back.
And maybe that was just part of it. They said, okay, fine, but you can't use Cody Rhodes, even though I know at PWG they announced him as Cody Rhodes, but on their DVDs it just says Cody R.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the thing is, as long as they don't make any money off the name Cody Rhodes, he's okay. Like, even on his T-shirts that on Pro Wrestling Tee, it just says CR on it.
I'm glad. The more people are able to be successful outside of WWE and make a good living in wrestling, that's the better for the industry. Just like when the Briscoes, was it last year, the year before, their contract with Ring of Honor was up. WWE gave an offer. They went back to Ring of Honor and said, this is what WWE's offering us. And Ring of Honor upped it. They went back to WWE and said, no, we can't offer you anymore. And they stayed with Ring of Honor. So yeah, anytime that happens, I think is a great thing. And so yeah, it's just going to be fascinating. It'll be really interesting seeing Cody Rhodes in a TNA ring. I'm even more interested in seeing him in Ring of Honor, since I actually really like Ring of Honor. Far more than I like TNA. I'm curious about TNA now, since you've joined the show and you really like and you've talked it up, and there's some people on that roster that I think are fantastic. They just need a four-sided ring. My God.
I don't want Matt Bennett. I don't want Mike Bennett to get lost, because they have brought in so many names, and they're going to try to get these names over. I just don't want him to get lost.
Yeah, well, I think someone like a Cody Rhodes is only going to be in there for, a couple of months. So you have a good feud, but when he's on his way out, you have Mike Bennett have him put Mike Bennett over. That's the way it needs to happen, because Mike Bennett's not going anywhere.
That is true, because he's never going to get signed with the WWE because of Maria Kanellis.
Yeah, until at least until the Bellas get booted, or someone just tells Nikki, stop being a bitch.
Yeah.
So let's go real quick to Ring of Honor. I know you have not been watching Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor has a pay-per-view coming up this Friday, All-Star Extravaganza, I think 8. And this week, or the episode that is currently on their website, was a lot of fun. There was a match, Silas Young against Toriano, who's a New Japan guy, he does a lot of running around the ring. He's very comedy. It was a fun match, and Silas Young, who uses a variation of the cutter, won the match, though his is not on my list.
He is not on my list either.
Yes, no. Christopher Daniels had a great backstage promo about at All-Star Extravaganza, the tag titles is going to be in a ladder match. It's going to be the Addiction, the Young Bucks, and the Motor City Machine Guns. And he just cut one of the best promos I've ever seen him cut. He talked about his family, about how when nothing else, at the end of his career, he's been doing this for 20 plus years, that this title means more to him than anything else. He's going to hold on to it, and it was very good.
Well, I can say this about Christopher Daniels. He is the fountain of youth, because he's been doing this wrestling so long. 10 years ago, the WWE told him he was too old. And 10 years now, I mean, you look at his physique, his look, even his face, you can't see a lot of aging.
No.
I mean, he looks just like he did when he was like 28, and he's just as good in the ring. I would pretty much put him against anybody else.
And he and Kazarian are fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think
they got the great chemistry, and it's funny because he originally, he was with AJ, and they did it, and AJ was like, you know what? I'm going to try to make it on, as a singles wrestler, and it's kind of crazy that it's worked out that way.
And Daniels for a while was a singles wrestler, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he and Kazarian, I think they're also at the point where they know our careers are winding down, and we're going to finish out as a tag team, and they're so good together.
He's almost 50.
He doesn't look it at all.
Yeah, like he's 46 years old, and he looks younger than I do.
Jesus,
that's crazy.
Man, that is. So then we had there was a match, Cheeseburger, who I just love because he's so silly, against the Punishment Damian Martinez, who used to be known as Punisher Martinez, with B.J. Whitmer and Kevin Sullivan. And this made... So Sullivan gets on commentary and is just talking crazy. And Steve Corino's on commentary, and I guess they have a history, and a lot of it didn't make any sense. But Martinez won the match, and I like Cheeseburger. So the best part of this show, the main event, was Adam Cole and Adam Page representing the Bullet Club against Michael Elgin and Hiroshi Tanahashi. And Kyle O'Reilly was on commentary, and on commentary he sounds just like Chris Jericho.
Really?
Yeah, I mean just his voice. And this was good. Elgin actually got the pin on Page. It was a really good match. I
dig the Hangman name. I just dig that as a name.
I do too. And you know what frustrates me? I love Adam Cole. He is one of my 5 favorite wrestlers right now. But it's him in Bullet Club. It's like one of these things. It's like on paper, this is a great idea. And same with Adam Page, with Hangman Page in Bullet Club, great idea. And I'm looking at it in execution, and it just seems almost too little too late. Now that all of with the exception of the Young Bucks, now that every other original member of Bullet Club is no longer in Bullet Club, it doesn't quite feel like Bullet Club anymore. It's like, okay, yes, I know that is Leonard Skinner in name, but no one in that band was in that plane when it crashed. So that's kind of what it feels like to me, and it's you almost lose some of your cool Adam Cole-isms because he has to take time to sweeting people.
Okay.
But this ended with there was a face-off with Elgin and Cole when Elgin was the person who beat Adam Cole, who ended his first Ring of Honor title reign. So All-Star Extravaganza next Friday. We're going to go through do some predictions here, even though I know you don't watch the Ring of Honor, but we'll see what you think. This first match, I have no idea. It is Kamatachi, I think I pronounced that right, against Dragon Lee. I don't know.
Kamatachi?
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. We have Jay Lethal against Naito. And for a while, Lethal in his feud with Bullet Club was teaming with Los Ingobernables, which I totally mispronounced, who would, Naito and Evil and that group. And they apparently turned on him at some point. So I'm looking at this match. It's like, first of all, with this relationship that Ring of Honor has with New Japan, is the New Japan guys, especially the big end New Japan guys, hardly ever lose to Ring of Honor guys. But this is a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, and in the last Ring of Honor pay-per-view, Jay Lethal lost. And Jay Lethal is one of their biggest stars. So I'm thinking that Jay Lethal needs to win this match, but I suspect he's not going to.
I think he'll win.
I hope so. I know it's going to be a good match.
Yeah, I think he'll win. I mean, New Japan guys are occasionally going to put over TNA guys, especially with somebody that they generally would put over on New Japan. Jay Lethal has won matches in New Japan, so I think he is one of the few people that might go over.
Yeah, you're probably right. Then there's a number one contenders for the tag team titles. Was it a fatal? No, it's Fatal 4-Way. It's the All Night Express against the team of Colt Cabana and Dalton Castle against was it Taylor and Lee, the two big black dudes that you mentioned last week, against War Machine. This has the potential of being either a hot mess or fantastic. I'm thinking that either All Night Express or Cabana and Castle are going to win. Just because War Machine was the previous tag team champions, and Taylor and Lee are too new.
Okay.
Dalton Castle is fantastic. I just him with the boys. It's such a hilarious gimmick. I just love it. Are you much of a Dalton Castle fan, or have you seen much of his stuff?
Love Dalton Castle. I got a picture with me and him when he came for Oaklamania. I think his character, he has this charisma. Very early Shawn Michaels in a way, but he's also the flamboyant character that they always had in the 80s. But then you think, okay, he's all show, and then he can really wrestle.
Yeah, and he's strong too, man. Those deadlift Germans that he does.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, like when I met him and I was standing next to him, he is really built. I mean, he has a lot of muscle. So I was actually shocked.
Was he a pretty nice guy?
Very nice guy. He was like grabbing everybody, putting their arms around him. Oh, did you get a good picture? Do you want to do it again? I mean, yeah, he was overly nice. I love that guy.
Oh, cool. Now, do you think he would have any chance in WWE?
No, because of, unfortunately, the PC era that we live in, he wouldn't be able to play his character.
Yeah, true. I mean, Goldust can't even be what Goldust was originally.
Yeah.
And can you imagine Adrian Adonis right now?
Yeah. But the thing is, with the WWE, I know we go back to that even though we're talking about the indies. I feel like they should become more offensive. I think more people will watch their show.
I agree. So the next match is something that I don't understand why they're doing. The Ring of Honor is starting a 6-man tag team title tournament. Why do they need a 6-man tag team title match? Their roster at this point is kind of small. So this is a first-round match. It's the Briscoes and Toriano from that match I mentioned against Silas Young against ACH, Jay White, and Kushida. Originally, it was supposed to be somebody else, Leo Rush, but for some reason he can't be there, so it's going to be Kushida. And Kushida's great.
My whole thing is you could have done a 6-man tournament, kind of like the CWC, and be like, you are the 6-man tournament champs, and they carried around the trophy and kind of did that without actually making a new title.
Yeah, there's no point. Even in New Japan, the never open weight 6-man tag title. I mean, there's no point in that. They've already got like 28 titles over there.
The reason a 6-man's a problem is that means you got to keep 3 people healthy at all times.
True.
And that just adds, because generally one of the 3 is wrestling as a single star, because it's usually a tag team and a random guy. And so one of is wrestling as a single star, and if he gets hurt or can't perform, it's just, I don't like the idea of a 6-man tag title.
Yeah, and the only place I've seen it work is in Lucha Underground. They've got the trios title, and it works because Lucha Underground is so drastically different than everything else.
That is true.
All right, then we have so I think the Briscoes and Toriano are going to win this. I mean, it's probably pretty safe to say the Briscoes are going to win that tournament because it's the freaking Briscoes, and ROH equals the Briscoes.
Yep.
We then have a Ring of Honor TV title match. Bobby Fish, the champion, taking on Donovan Dijak. And
Donovan Dijak, he's a huge man. So I got to meet him, and he was just a very big guy.
How was he? Was he nice?
Yeah, he was fairly nice. I mean, he was one of the few people that sat there all day. I mean, like, no one knew who he was and no one was coming up to him for the most part. And he still sat there the whole day. Like, when a person went about 2 hours without anybody coming up, they would generally pack up their stuff and leave. He stayed for the whole show.
Wow, what a trooper. Man, good job. Yeah, he's a super tall dude. And he is good. I mean, the way he moves and everything, he's lanky, though, which makes him look kind of off. And I'm not body shaming the guy or anything. He's in great physical condition. A lot of times you see these gigantic guys and you expect more girth on them, and he's lanky. But this could be a really good match. I don't know if they're ready to quite yet pull the trigger on Dijak. So I think Bobby Fish is probably going to retain. He's doing a good job keeping the TV title really strong.
Yeah,
and I really like Bobby Fish. I like Red Dragon in general. I think he and Kyle O'Reilly are really good wrestlers. But I would not be surprised at some point, if not here, but some point in the future, Dijak does win this belt.
Okay.
Then we have a Ring of Honor tag team title match. It's a ladder match, only the 6th apparently in Ring of Honor history per the vignettes that they showed on this week's episode. So we got the champions, The Addiction, taking on the Young Bucks and the Motor City Machine Guns. What do you think, man? You think this is going to be good? You think
Young Bucks are going over? I think it's going to be a great match. I mean, all 6 are incredible workers. I think the Young Bucks are going over just because right now RH is really pushing their connection with the Bullet Club, and the Young Bucks are really good at self-promotion. So in giving them the titles, you're also going to get them promoting ROH more.
Yeah, I could see that. Right now they are the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions.
Yeah.
And they are challenging the Briscoes for the heavyweight titles in New Japan. So if they win this match and then they turn around and beat the Briscoes, you could theoretically have them, they could hold 3 different titles at once.
And they could be the second greatest tag team in wrestling.
Who would be the greatest?
The Revival.
Yeah.
I think we agree on that one.
Yes, definitely. See, my gut is I kind of think the Addiction is going to go over, but I don't know. All I know is I'm looking forward to watching this because this is 3 fantastic tag teams, 3 of the best tag teams in the world.
The more someone says they're going to keep a title, the less I believe it. So when you told me about the Daniels promo.
Oh, yeah, good call. All right, then we have the main event, Ring of Honor World Title match. The champion Adam Cole, Bebe, taking on Michael Elgin. This could be looked at as their rubber match because Cole, when he won the Ring of Honor World Title the first time, it was in a tournament that he beat Elgin in the finals. Elgin then beat Cole for the championship a couple of years ago. And so now you could, and I don't know if they're hyping this up as the rubber match the third time. But I think Adam Cole walks away with the belt. It's too early.
ROH really doesn't do short title reigns, so that's basically what I'm basing my decision on, is that they don't do short title reigns.
I also think they see Adam Cole as their kind of big star right now.
See, and that's the whole thing. Jay Lethal is their big star. I mean, I don't even think it's close. As far as if you ask the wrestling community, he's generally in everyone's top 5 as far as favorite wrestlers.
Yeah, I can't. I would say they're the 2. They're the 2 top stars.
Yeah.
And I think a long-term feud between Cole and Lethal could be great.
KO is actually getting Cole over with the whole Instagram post of them sharing a hotel room with them both having the belts. I thought that was really cool.
I loved that. That was great. I actually put that in our episode image for last week, even though I know we didn't talk Ring of Honor at all. And it was Adam Cole had that on his Twitter for a while, and then took it down. But yeah, I think Adam Cole's going to go over. Now, do you think we're ever going to see Adam Cole in WWE?
If he wants to be. I think it's now probably pretty much the most open door policy they've had, where size really does not matter in the WWE right now. I mean, they are really trending to smaller guys right now. So that being said, I think if he wanted to sign with the WWE, but a lot of the people that don't sign with the WWE, it's more of the corporate environment that they're staying away from.
That does make sense, though. It would. Can you imagine just at a takeover or a Royal Rumble or something? And it would be cool if he could keep his music, but him walk out and do the whole Adam Cole baby and the crowd responding in kind.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so awesome.
Like Young Bucks, they'll never sign with the WWE because they're going to always make more money on their own. They self-promote better than anybody in the world, so they really don't need the WWE vehicle behind them. And if they go to the WWE, people pretty much are just going to call them a poor man's Hardys, no matter what, even though they have exceeded that long ago.
Yeah, I agree. And I love how they will take T-shirt designs from other people and turn them into Young Bucks T-shirts, like their Young Bucks. That's the Kevin Owens NXT shirt.
Mm-hmm.
That cracks me up.
Super Kick City.
Super Kicks. Yes, it's a Super Kick party.
Wow.
Yeah, but yeah, the Super Kick. Yeah, the Zuplex City shirt. Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, so that takes us. We're done with that. So we're going to talk about our top 5 list this week. Top 5 favorite cutters. Otherwise, our 5 favorite people who use the cutter as, or a variation thereof, as their finishing move. So we'll start. We'll let you go first, Floyd. Who is your number 5 pick?
I went with the tag team known as the Dudley Boys, or Team 3D, the Dudley Death Drop. It was the first real tag team version of the cutter used, and it got their team over. That move got their team over. More than the tables, more than anything, that move got their team over. So I went with them as 5.
Nice. My number 5 is also the Dudley Boys. I'm there with you. I'm number 5, Dudley Boys. I like the way they do the move. So yeah, number 4. Who's your number 4?
Number 4, it is a cutter. I had to actually go back and look at it to make sure because it's a very variation of it. I'm sticking with the Dudley family. I'm gonna go with LSD, aka Little Spike Dudley, with the acid drop.
Oh, nice. Very nice. My number 4 is the former Ring of Honor World Champion, Jay Lethal, with the lethal injection.
Well, I'm going to say I agree because my number 3 is Jay Lethal. I think he took a move that had become overused in wrestling. Someone had always used and added a twist to it I had never seen. I saw it and I ended up seeing it, I believe, in the Homicide match with, what was that match? Homicide. It was the big match. I always forget the other guy's name. You know what I'm talking about? There was the big match everyone was talking about, Vader versus...
Will Ospreay.
Yeah, okay. And I saw they did a version of... Will Ospreay did that move on Homicide. And it was the finisher, but Jay Lethal's just... The way he does it, the way he sets it up, it does not come off overly gymnastic. It just comes off as a really good move. So he's my number 3.
Yeah, good. I like the way he does it. Though there was in his match with Adam Cole, where Cole won the title, he did a cutter off the top rope, and I was like, how is that not the finish? It looked brutal. But my number 3 is Randy Orton with the RKO out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So Randy Orton is, when he cares, he's awesome, and I do like the way he does the move. So.
My number 2, the person that has made that move most famous, and it's Randy Orton. He took the move from a wrestling move to an internet meme. So I love the way he does it. My favorite one was not, and not I don't go Evan Bourne because he's the one with Evan Bourne because it's kind of everyone's favorite one, but it actually didn't kind of make sense how it ended up happening. My favorite one is the Christian one, where the Christian was doing the springboard into the splash and he would turn it into an RKO. It wasn't very popular at the time because Christian title reign was only 5 days, but I just dug how it was done.
Yeah, he's really good at being able to pull it out of nowhere, which is fitting because with his shirt and all. Now my number 2 is, and some people might argue that this isn't actually a cutter, but I think it is. Number 2 is Steve Austin with the Stone Cold Stunner.
For the purpose of this, and I mean, technically it's a cutter. I mean, all technicality. I would not put it on my list because it doesn't. Of the cutters, it's the one that least look like it hurts. So
that's true.
It doesn't look like it hurts anyone. I mean, the only thing about the Stone Cold Stunner, it's all about how the person that takes it sells it.
Yeah, that's true.
The Rock, man, where he would do a flip out of it, and he used to sell the crap out of the stunner. When he stunned you, you thought he was dead. When The Rock took it, Shawn Michaels did it pretty well when he took the title at WrestleMania. But I would say the thing about the stunner is just it's on who's taking it.
On was it in Lucha Underground, their first Ultima Lucha, there was a match between the Mac and Brian Cage, and the Mac hit a stunner on the outside, and they called it the stunner, and Cage kicked out, and Matt Stryker screams, "No one kicks out of the stunner!" It was hilarious, but yeah. So who is? Are we at number 1 now?
Yeah, and I'm feeling like number 1's it. It's the innovator of the move, the guy that really is the reason everyone uses it. And any version of it except Jay Lethal's, he's probably done. He's Diamond Dallas Page. He brought it. He's pretty much the Jake Roberts of the Diamond Cutter, except that Jake actually invented the DDT and DDP stole it from Johnny Ace. But he did it in all the ways that we're talking about. When he did it the flat-out reverse, it was more like a DDT. When he did the running one, it was more like a bulldog. It was just, he got that move so over. He got it so over that everyone stole it, which is pretty much the highest compliment you can give a person. Yeah. So, yeah, DDP is my one. And
same here, Diamond Dallas Page, by far the best cutter in the business. One of my favorites was when he would have someone up in a backbreaker when they were laying on his shoulder basically, and he would flip them over into the diamond cutter. Yeah, that was great. Also, when he would take them from a fireman's carry position, which I think is that move, that variation of it, which is what Silas Young uses. I think it's called the TKO. Yes, and that's what Nikki Bella uses now. Obviously, she did not make either of our lists. But the way he did it, and people can go back and watch it, he always made sure his form was perfect. It was always the 2 arms over the head. He never, like Randy, sometimes when he does his, he'll just do it more like where he's bringing them down with just his right arm. DDP never did it like that. It was always both arms bringing the face down. And I just thought that was always a detail that added to how devastating the move was, and I always say, like, no one's done it right since him. I agree, because I remember when I first started getting back into wrestling and watching Randy Orton do it, I always thought, he's doing a really bad poor man's DDP. That's just a bad diamond cutter, and I've grown to appreciate Orton's more. But yeah, it's Diamond Dallas Page did that in such a great way, and I love Diamond Dallas Page. When I think back to the WCW in the '90s, the Monday Night War era, I think Diamond Dallas Page is one of their great successes, because you think of the stars that when you think WCW and the stars that they created. And you take away anyone who had been established in the NWA, so you don't count the Horsemen, you don't count the Steiners, you don't count Sting or Luger or any of those people. You just when WCW came into existence, and especially those Monday Night War years and the stars, the real main event stars that they created, they really created 3: Diamond Dallas Page, Goldberg, and Booker T. Yeah. And I
I completely agree. The thing about Diamond Dallas Page that he can be a story for anyone that's not a very good wrestler at that time. He started really late, and then when he started, he was pretty bad, but he got that move over. When people tell me finishers don't matter, it's like an elbow can be a finisher or whatever. He got that finisher so over that he turned a late-stage career, which nobody thought he was going to do anything until a WCW championship. And, I mean, he definitely had personality and charisma, and he could sell himself on the mic. He had been doing that his whole life. But as far as the wrestling, he got that move. And it was years. I remember he did that move, and he was coming up, and it was years before anybody kicked out of it. And I think Goldberg was the first to kick out of it. And it was years before anyone kicked out of it. And it's just a story to tell people. Don't let a wrestler just kick out of your finisher just because that's going to make the pay-per-view look good. How about the wrestler just does a really good job of not getting hit with your finisher and then you finally hit it? Because the only thing is, it's like it should only happen like once every few years if you have a really effective finisher.
Oh, yeah. That's something that wrestling in general has done a really bad job at. You see someone kick out of a Canadian destroyer, and you're like, "What? That man's neck should be broken."
Yes.
Or another great example during the Cruiserweight Classic, the Kota Ibushi Brian Kendrick match. Kota Ibushi kicked out of a burning hammer.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake, you should be dead.
I completely agree. That was the best part of the TJP Grand Metalik story, is that he never put the finisher all the way on. So Grand Metalik never got out of it. He just never let him get it all the way on. And that's a good storytelling device, especially with the moves that they have now. It's like so many people have kicked out of the attitude adjustment that I feel like I could kick out of the attitude adjustment.
Well, the attitude adjustment sucks. Let's be completely honest. That is
it's a fireman carry takeover, with theatrics. So, no. Yeah, it sucks. But does it suck more than the boot and the leg drop?
Ooh.
Does it suck more than Dusty Rhodes' atomic elbow?
Oh, it's on that level of
There's
suctitude.
been some silly...
It's on that level of suctitude.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of bad finishers in wrestling. The Rock's people's elbow. There's a lot of bad finishers. But I'm just saying, attitude adjustment was at least a slam. Even, you know what I'm saying? At least you can buy someone with that physical build of John Cena. If he does that same move to you, he's going to slam you down with some pretty, with some velocity.
Yeah. And to me anymore, that move only works. He has to hit it 2 or 3 times, especially to any credible opponent. Because if he just hits it once and the match is over, then he better have been wailing on the Fool for a while, or it better be a jobber. Because you get those, like the match with Cesaro where he had to hit it off the top rope. And AA off the top rope, that should knock you out. You should not be able to kick out of 3 from that. That's because that's going to hurt.
The whole Owens doing the pop-up powerbomb Monday night and Roman Reigns kicking out. I was like, come on, not on a Raw. You kick out a pop-up powerbomb at WrestleMania on a pay-per-view, a big pay-per-view. You don't kick out of his finisher on a Raw.
But come on, it's the Samoan Super Cena.
But I don't mind him. I've never minded Roman Reigns being a badass. I get annoyed with the WWE when they don't take their cues from the fans. Yeah, he's a heel because he gets booed. That simple.
But they know better than you. Floyd, come on. Just drink your Kool-Aid. Do what Vince wants.
You know what? And a lot of times, like I said, I do look at the world with Vince-colored glasses. I see a guy that's really, really small, and I'm like, I don't think he's going to make it. He's too small. And I do. I find myself doing that, even though when you look at my favorite wrestlers, you see Arn Anderson, Chris Benoit, and Shawn Michaels. 3 of probably the shortest wrestlers ever. And I am, but I still say that about people to this day. I find myself, I have to slap myself and say, hey, you're looking through Vince-colored glasses again.
Yep, I can. That is great. I love that. And that's a great way to end. All right, so we are about to get out of here. Floyd, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter, Floyd Johnson Jr. You can find me on Facebook, Floyd Johnson Jr. And I'm on Instagram. I always forget that too. It's Intense. That's NTENSECA. But my Facebook and Twitter should get you there if you have a problem spelling that.
Was Floyd Johnson Jr. at Instagram taken?
I don't know how I ended up in NCA. I don't really know. That is my wrestling name. So
okay.
Yeah, like when I was 12, I came up with that name, and I always.
Okay, well, you can find me Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Oklahoma Lefty. You can find the show, more importantly than following at least my stupid butt, at Around the Ring OK on the Facebook and the Twitter. And that's going to do it for this week. And next week, Floyd's going to come up with our top 5 list. I don't think you have an idea yet. Oh, no, wait, you do. We're going to do top 5 storyline/angles.
Yes.
Next time. So I'm actually going to have to get my thinking cap on for this one.
And you know what? That's what I did. I wanted to get some we were going to have to do some deep thinking on.
Yeah. And we will also talk about Clash of Champions and whatever else happens to hit the fan between now and then. So, as always, thank you folks for listening. And Floyd, it's been a pleasure. And we'll see you guys next week.
See you guys next week.
You've been listening to Around the Ring on the Spark Radio Network.
All you have to do is change your point of view and believe.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Bam! Woo!
This sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
What? It's for charity.